Good enough.
Good enough.
That's all we
I think so.
Want to go see Crazy Work, they run it Crazy Work.
Sometimes, I guess, if it's there.
So how long were you gone?
A lot of fun.
Week.
Oh, you were gone? Yeah, no wonder it's been quiet in town. Did I say that? I know. You'll be throwing stuff at me. Yes.
Okay. I'm not here to bring stuff.
You did even. You're not.
I'm here to see if you're doing your job.
No agendas? Yes, I do. Thank you. I apologize. I picked them up and then you guys were not willing
Yep. Oh, Scott.
I know. How you doing, Jason?
You're a sweetheart.
Don't tell anybody that.
Hey, that chair was for Bill.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Who's here?
Good, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I'll call this meeting to order at 7:07. I'll say. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Where's the treasurer's office?
Treasurer's office.
Approval of the agenda. Okay, yeah.
I've asked repeatedly about the East Windsor Fire Marshal being put on the report, and also his monthly report. I haven't, that's not on here. Last meeting, we had a discussion of contracts for electric, oil, and gas. That is not on this agenda. The VMX skate park we talked about at the last meeting, and no conclusion as whether they're temporary or permanent. And let's see, there was one other, oh, your initiatives. I believe that this month you were going to write up your initiatives, probably for the next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and going back, I think we did do the BMS skate park. We did pass a motion to make it a temporary committee for 18 months.
I'm sure we did.
We did say we temporary.
Yes, yeah, we had to. Otherwise, would they go to town meeting and have an ordinance?
Yep, yep.
Not necessarily does.
What's that
There
important?
it is.
I couldn't remember. Okay, okay. Thank you.
And Jason, you wanted to add something?
Yep, a discussion of the, I lost it. Discussion of the state budget.
Okay. Make that,
I listed it as 11F, but you can put it wherever you want.
sure, 11F's good. Okay, any further additions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Approval of June 20th minutes.
Okay, and I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of June 20th, 2017, regular meeting minutes with one small correction. The usual one. I'm junior, not the second.
Oh,
Sorry, Dick.
Yeah,
I'll second that motion.
well,
okay.
until you get in a court of law, it really doesn't
All
matter.
those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Communications. Any communications? I have none.
Should have resignation for two members.
Well,
That's communications, actually, isn't it? Hold on to the job. Whatever.
okay, public participation. Lou, we'll go with Lou.
All right. Now, let him
going
go.
on first?
Seniority,
All
seniority.
right,
Oh,
senior,
Okay,
you're the new guy.
You're the
okay.
new guy.
I'm the
You're
new
first.
guy.
Yes.
Thank you for letting me speak.
We need your name and your
Lou
address.
Reale, R-E-A-L-E, 414 Canyon Ridge Drive, the apartment's on 140. Okay? I've lived here now 3 years, and I used to live on Broadbrook Road, near Krysick, Abbey, and Broadbrook, just over the line. And I'm sure you all know about the situation over there. I probably called in about 35 accidents when I was living over there on the Enfield side. Saw a lot of carnage over there. And part of it was sightline problem that I tried working with Enfield and the state. We did get some resolution there, and it is a little better. But I want to talk about here where I live now, and it's the corner of Yosky and 140, where you pull out there. And I have called the first selectman's office and on a few occasions about snow, which they did an excellent job this year of cutting the snow banks down. And every time I called the first selectman's, there was action about my complaints. But I wanted to come here and bring it to you on the table to see if you can maybe do a permanent thing there. I worked for the Enfield Highway Department for over 22 years, so I know about sightline stuff. I did a lot of clearing the sightline. Sightline is key to keeping people safe in bad intersection. And Yosky Road, you all know it, when you pull out of there, you've got cars coming out 140, 50, 55 miles an hour. So you need every bit of sightline for that extra second or two. And I've seen close calls there. I was involved in one. My wife is. I want her safe, I want me safe, and I want my fellow citizens in East Windsor to be safe. I'd like to see, and I think maybe it's probably the state that cuts it, but I think it needs to be cut a little bit more often. I don't know if East Windsor has that kind of machinery, but they could cut it. But another problem there is signs. And it could be political signs, which I always thought was a waste of money, because if you put them on somebody's lawn, it means something to me, unless you put it on a lawn or a business, and just stick it in on a road somewhere. It doesn't make any, to me, it's a waste of money. But signage, carnivals, now I've been popping up, there's been contractors, roofing contractors putting. They put the sign where you're blocking. You come up to the sign and to the stop bar, and the signs are blocking your view. Now, you know, the cars come around that corner. We had a fatal back there some months ago, and so you need an extra second. So I'd like to see them, our police department or whoever, and I know they don't have time to be ripping down signs, but there shouldn't be any signs put up there, and that includes political signs, because they block the track, they block your vision. Also, what needs to be done, and I don't want to accept the property owner that lives right there, but the trees and the shrubs that border his thing, they just need to be trimmed back. They don't need to be cut down. I know he probably likes it for a sound barrier and a sight barrier, but they need to be trimmed back. And I did that kind of work. A crew of 2 guys, 3 guys could go over there with a pole saw and some loppers and a chainsaw, just trim it back, trim the branches back, because now you have to, if you're the first car, you have to pull past the stop bar to look to your right. So you're pulling out even farther. You got people coming around that corner at 55, 60 miles an hour. You need that sight line. So I'd like to see just a little bit of trimming. It probably hasn't been done in years, whether your crew does it or we could get the state DOT, which good luck with that, to do it. But it needs to be more permanently maintained. They did a great job this winter cutting down the snow banks, but it needs to be taken care of a little bit more before somebody gets hurt. And if you pull out there and you've got a car coming 55, there's going to be a fatality here. So I'd like to see that done, and that's all I'm basically here for. Number 2, real quick, I want you guys to know, On April 18th, me and my wife witnessed a plane crash over at Skylark. And I want to let you know that we were the ones that called the fire department. And I want to let you know that the fire department and the police department were there in unbelievable time. I used to be a volunteer fireman in Enfield. And I'm going to tell you something. We were swarmed with your people within minutes. And they located that plane with our help. They located that plane and they helped. And I want to pass that on to you guys, how good a job the fire department and police department did to get there. Unfortunately, there was nothing that could be done. But I want to let you know that, and pass that on to the chief and all them, that they did a heck of a job and did the best they could. But they were there, unbelievable. It was like trucks and people all around us. So I want to let you know. See if you can do something. I really don't want to call the selectman's office every time there's a sign or the grass is too high. I think we should try to maintain it a little bit better, do some sightline work with a little bit of tree cutting and bush truck trimming back. It doesn't have to affect that gentleman where he loses his buffer. Just a little bit of trimming, keep it trimmed, and keep the signs off there. Whether you enforce it through the police car going by and ripping them out of the ground or whatever, I don't know what the rights are with that. But I don't think any of that stuff should be in that corner because it's a disaster waiting to happen. So thank you guys very much, and thank you for your service to the town. Thank you.
Thank you for
Yeah,
the
thank you
input.
for,
Do we know who owns that property? Is that town? That's private property?
Well, I don't know if the trees are Bob's or not, but it's Bob Yaski.
Yeah.
Uh,
I don't want to make.
The problem is
it needs to be
obstruct-
just trimmed. It just needs to be trimmed back. That's all.
The obstruction is on, I think, on the state part of it.
How about
You
the
know.
tree warden? Could we ask Lenny to take a look at it?
I would
yeah, I agree that we should take a close look at it. We should understand the situation and
Yes.
decide what to do. I was going to make a joke. This is a joke. This isn't
Yeah,
real.
I understand.
We could put up a sign saying no signs.
That's a good idea.
I was thinking here, how am I going to, let people know that the sign shouldn't be here?
Well, you know what, if they put them back to the tree line, what they're trying to do is they're trying to get two sides, so you both see.
Signs
If they
are
put 'em-
expensive.
Right, if they put it right against the tree line, and you're just gonna see it once, but if you go back and forth. you're
Maybe
gonna
that's
see-
where I'll put my sign, no
Right,
sign.
there you go.
Yeah, that's a good
But-
idea.
So the signage is a zoning enforcement function.
Correct.
Which underlines the need for us to fill that position.
Well.
Yeah,
it-
no,
it's-
you're talking about a zoning enforcement officer.
Yeah.
We are probably, we could very well have one in a matter of days.
It's, it is that issue, and we do have, Lori could act in that particular case. I think the police could act if it was detrimental to the public safety.
Yeah.
I think they should have the right to take it down.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
glad you
so.
called it to our attention in
That's a good
such
idea.
detail we could really understand it.
Yeah, and like I said, if you go and you look at, I looked at it today, just to let you know, it's not gonna be some big major trimming or anything. There's just one, like, maple tree, and then the shrubs that the gentleman maybe owns, I don't know. But if they're just
That's a good
trimmed
question.
back, and that probably hasn't been done in 20 years, so all you gotta do is just thin it back. And what's happened is the second car is gonna be able to see now. Because you can't see anything when you're the second car. And so if you just trim it back, couple guys with chainsaws, I did that kind of work, it's not a big project, so.
What you're really saying is the intersection should be rebuilt so it's closer to a 90. Because when you're coming south on Simon Road,
Yeah.
and then Yaski Road in our town, and then you gotta look to the right, it's a cockeyed angle.
It is.
It's
And-
like Willem Road is.
And nobody does 35 going through there. You got cars coming through there 50,
They're doing
60 miles an
35, they're
hour,
out of
and
gas
You don't have
pushing
much
it.
time so you need that
That's a
extra
busy
visual.
road.
So thank you for listening to me. I
Thank you for
appreciate
bringing it
it.
up.
Thanks for speaking up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Barbara.
Hi, Barbara Sherman, 12 Ellen Drive, Rockbrook. Just to let you know that the E. coli testing that was done yesterday, the results are back, and the level at the filter beds is rated blue. So the cardboard boat race and the duck race will go forward this Sunday. Okay?
Yeah.
So registration at noon, duck race at 1, which benefits BMX Park, and then the cardboard boat race at 2, and the proceeds from that benefits the Five Corner Cupboard. One other thing, please. The Park and Rec Department declared July National Parks Month, and they asked the River Commission if we could do an event. Well, as it turns out, we've been talking about doing a fun paddle and picnic, and the Connecticut River Conservancy is doing a Source to Sea event. They're starting in Lyme, New Hampshire, and doing different events in different towns along the river down to Old Saybrook. They have an empty slot Friday, July 28th. So we are going to have a fun paddle starting at Kings Island in Enfield. We will paddle down to Volunteer Park, and then we will have a picnic. This is going to be open to whoever wants to join. We'll be asking for RSVPs so we know how many boats we need in case someone wants to go but doesn't have a canoe to ride in, and also so that we can kind of get an idea as to food for the picnic. So the projected time frame would be meeting at Kings Island at 2, leaving the boats there, going down to Volunteer Park, and dropping off cars, shuttling back up to Kings Island, hopefully getting into the water by 3, getting down to Volunteer Park in the canoe by 4:30, depending on the ability of the paddlers, and then having a picnic. So there'll be publicity coming out about that, but just to let you know, that's what's coming down. Thank you for your time.
Good, thank you.
Sounds like fun.
Okay,
Scott Morgan, 106 South Main Street. I just wanted to say I'm very sad to see Paulette Broder leaving Board of Finance in her resignation. I wish her and SD the best of luck in Florida. I do understand that Sarah Muska has applied for the position. I've known her for a very long time. I think she'd be a great fit, and let her get very active. She's been very active and going to a lot of meetings, so I think she'd be a great fit. Thank you.
Paul Anderson, 89 Main Street, Broadbrook. Well, I got 2 items. The first one is the zero tolerance abuse violence policy put out by the tax department. Yay team, pay your taxes, you want to complain, don't yell at anybody, don't threaten anybody. It will not be tolerated under any conditions, and I applaud her for coming out with that policy. Tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock, there's going to be a meeting of the pension and retirement, hang on, I gotta get this right, because this is complicated, unfortunately. Board, okay? There's a pension and retirement board. They're meeting tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. Okay, now, there's an ordinance 70-1 that established that. So that's the name of the group, Pension and Retirement Board. If you go to the town's website under boards and committees, you will find the Pension Retirement Board, which is good. Unfortunately, Kim Lord is still listed with her email as the person to contact. I think that's unfortunate. If you go to the town calendar, you will find that there's a pension commission special meeting. Not a commission, it's a board. If you pull the agenda for the pension committee, that's their heading on their agenda. That's how they're filing their minutes. It's not the pension commission. It's not the pension board. It is not the pension committee. It is the pension and retirement board. And that should be everywhere. People are confused enough in town as to who is what. There's only one group. It's got one name. And unfortunately, it's the selectmen's job to make it work because they run this government. So all that's got to be fixed to get it corrected, so that we reduce our confusion in town. I'm sure they do a great job, but if you pull out the charter, you'll find that a board, a commission, and a committee are all different from each other, have different responsibilities and authorities, and that is a mess. Now, unfortunately, we have a permanent building commission. It's in the same boat.
Yep.
It gets called a committee, it gets called this. That can't be acceptable. So, and there may be others. My job is not to research everything in town, but I will tell you, it's your job. So I would suggest that you look these things over and get everybody on board with where they ought to be so we don't get more lost than we are already. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further public participation? Glenn?
Glenn Rightly, 27 here, a couple notes. I think it's great that Paul has resigned, and I do endorse Sarah. She's a young person, wants to get involved, she does a good job in other things that she does. She's got my support, and that's part of the reason I'm here. Another reason I'm here is I'm going to give you a verbal that I am going to continue to lease the farm. I know I have to give it to you in writing also, but while I'm here, I'm going to give it to you in verbal, and I appreciate your time.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How about gleaning? Can we continue?
Excuse me?
Can we continue to glean?
Absolutely, we're gonna. If things straighten out here, we look forward to doing that again.
That was
As
great.
long as the crops cooperate, we're looking to do that again. It's a great thing.
Okay, thank you. Sarah?
Sarah Musco, 25 Maple Avenue. I'd really like to thank my party for recommending me as an alternate on the Board of Finance. I really appreciate their confidence in me, and I'm hoping that tonight you will vote me into that position. I'm really eager to get involved and look forward to working with the new team, and it would be an honor to serve my town. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, further public participation? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to board and commission resignations and appointments.
Okay. I make a motion to accept with regrets the resignation of Paulette Broder for the Board of Finance. She's actually an alternate.
Okay,
It says Board of Finance here, but she's an alternate.
and,
I'll second that.
okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and I will move to accept with regrets the resignation of David Menard from the Inland Wetlands Watercourse Agency.
Second,
I'll
Second.
second. Oh, go ahead.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Not really, but yeah, I
Aye.
Okay,
did a good job.
BMX,
You want to make any of them, guys? Okay, move to appoint to the BMX Skate Park Committee Laurie Gabriel, a regular member for a term expiring 12/20/2018.
I'll second that.
and all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'll make a motion to appoint to the BMX Skate Park Committee Brenda Crockett, as a regular member for a term expiring 12/20/2018. And if I'd looked, I would have put them together and saved the motion.
Yeah.
Is there a
I'm
second?
slipping.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I make a motion to appoint to the Board of Finance, and that is an alternate, which it doesn't say here, Sarah Musco. Oh, yes, it does, over before, for a term expiring 11/21/2017.
Second.
Jason.
Discussion?
It's great to see somebody of my generation stepping up.
There you go.
It's lonely up here.
She's younger than you.
Good.
She's considerably younger than me, but still.
Great. Good. Really good.
She has to be sworn in at the town clerk, right?
Yeah.
Yes, you need to get sworn at the town clerk, sir.
Okay,
That's it?
no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
That was tough, wasn't it?
Okay, unfinished business, the Broadbrook Mill site.
Oh, gosh. It's all my possession.
And
Jason, that's your job.
I'll pass out an email we got from Maurice Hammond. This, I thought, gave some good information. You think we should read the entire memo?
Probably should make it available to the public
I would
and
leave
definitely
it
the
out
press.
to make copies of it if they want to read it.
Yeah,
Okay,
It's
well,
a-
it'll
quite
be
a
in the
lengthy
minutes.
document.
It'll be in the minutes on the website too.
yeah, I don't know if we need it sooner. I've got one home.
Jason, I know you have some highlights. Do you want to?
I have highlights, I have notes, some.
Oh, yes.
Okay, take it
Looks like
away.
a yellow sheet.
Well, so I appreciate the response from DEP, and again, I think that the frustrations that I and others feel are not aimed at them in any way. It would be nice to have them come in at some point and speak with us about what's going on so that we can get some first-hand answers from somebody who's of a pretty high rank within DEP. But one of the things that, well, there are several things that jump out here that I think are troubling in terms of how we got here and what we're going to do next. So I'll read in pertinent part. A plan for the remediation of soil and underground water a plan for the remediation of soil and groundwater at the site was approved in 2010. 2010 is a long time ago for an initial plan to have been approved and really no discernible action taken.
Well, I know, they might have done something to secure the bank.
They might have, but there's nobody to tell us that.
Right. Okay.
That would be a great conversation piece to have with DEP, so they can
Yeah.
say, this is what happened then, this is what's happened next. Somebody who's speaking in the vernacular of a supervising environmental analyst. which I
Well,
believe
and what
this
we're
is.
getting instead of DEP, and I'm not justifying this, I'm just saying that we do have AECom giving us bi-monthly reports that would...
They are?
Yes.
Could they be made available to us?
Yes,
Should be in our packets.
I've been reading them periodically. We have received one, so at the next meeting, I'll put them in the packet.
I thought AECom was out.
Mike Pansiera seems to be writing these, so I know they're not out. I guess in this sense, for some reason, in the last, I don't know, say 4 or 6 months, UTAS has stepped up and taken a more active role in this mitigation. They're the owner, and but AECom still putting in the monthly reports, and still, when we went to the state, Gloria and I and Keith Yagaloff and talked to Maurice Hamlin, Bill Penn, and Kathy Pansiera. He was definitely part of the whole thing. And also, I think with Maurice Hamel, he's receptive. I can see that he doesn't really want to come in at this point. But I think if any one of, or all of us selectmen wanted to meet him down in his office at a particular time in Hartford, we could do it.
So I have a call into him, and I'll ask him to do that.
Yeah.
But I think part of the underlying issue is that there are voters who want to have an update on this from an authoritative source. And whether it's UTAS or AECom or whoever, the constant there is that DEP is going to be involved in some way. So
Yes.
they're the authoritative fulcrum that can shed some light on this for us.
Well, I think in the last 4 to 6 months, a lot of light has been shed on this. And it's apparent that a big, and I think it says it in here, a big thing that's holding up progress now, and progress can be made very quickly. We could start remediation next spring. That's how fast we could start. But the town, has to decide what we want to do with it. We have to decide, and we could decide tonight. We could decide and the decisions are, I don't think I have to tell you guys should know. One is we can cap the whole thing and knock down the building, and that could be very well the way to go. Another thing that we could do is knock down the building, cap it, but have some plan for the future. So when they do the remediation, it's set up to accommodate parking lots or a van situation, maybe recreation, or we could take other actions not to tear down the building, and that could be negotiated. So, and that's a town decision. That's not DEEP's, it's not UTAC's. That's our decision. We have to make it fairly quickly.
Except we don't have any knowledge on which to base those decisions. You know,
I think we do. I can. You don't have any. Well, there's levels of knowledge, but when we get down to specifics, then we can certainly go to Maurice Hamill and do that.
One of the things you keep saying is we need to decide if we're going to do this or we're going to do that, and there's a tremendous amount of liability associated with that. I don't have near enough information to be comfortable saying that we are going to do anything.
And in here, he talks about asking the town attorney, and that's another thing that we have to decide. We have to make decisions. And
we don't have a stake in this, other than it's in our community. There's somebody who owns it. There's somebody who contaminated it. In this case, they're linked. And there's the costs and process of remediation, none of which is ours.
But in the future, we have the option, we could own it. And we can say, yes, we'll own it, or no, we won't. And we can vote. We can vote tonight.
No, I don't.
We have not had any presentation from any authoritative source to give us any basis on which to make an informed decision. That's why we've been asking.
Well, who is the authoritative source?
Maurice Hamill from DEP would be the first.
Or
having UTAS come in, or having AECom come in, or having somebody who's...
You think that one of those authoritative sources that you mentioned can tell us who should own that?
I think they can tell us what we could reasonably expect if we are the owner or if we are not the owner. I don't have any clue on how to make an informed, intelligent decision based on what I know and what has been presented to me right now. This is the closest thing that we've come to, but this is a 3-page memo.
I think we have to get that information, and I think a lot of it is the town attorney. The liability thing is not something that Maurice Hamill is going to know about.
They'll know about the environmental implications of contaminants and all things that I could understand if somebody was talking to me, but I can't just glean from nothing.
Okay.
Well, the first thing, we're missing a very important point here. About 15 years ago, we had a town meeting duly called, and a vote was taken that the town would not own that property or have anything to do with it. And it has not been rescinded, so why are we here? I don't think the taxpayers in this town want any part of that property as far as owning it as a municipal site. What I think people would like to see is the thing remediated to the point that you could, some kind of a reuse of the property, whether it's like you say, an open parkland, maybe a parking lot, maybe some kind of a business down there. I think it should be remediated to that point. If they can save the buildings, fine and dandy, but it's not our dime. It's not the taxpayers' dime. And I don't think they'll spend the money for it.
Who would own it if we had shops down there and parking lots and stuff? Who would own the property?
I'm sure if it's remediated to the point of reuse, the for sale sign will go up and somebody will make the investment.
So it's not the town?
Not the, we can't.
Okay,
we would have to rescind the action of that town meeting before we can really do anything. And I was at that meeting and I darn well voted not to have it.
If you want to vote not to have the town own it tonight, that's fine. Then we made a decision.
What is the hesitation or the trepidation with having somebody from DEP come here and talking to us about this?
No trepidation. He just isn't coming. Not in the near future. I can't force him to come. In fact, he wrote me an email saying that he doesn't have to come because this Board of Selectmen voted to have him come.
Yeah, he doesn't have to.
No,
we voted to make you talk to him.
I have.
We couldn't get you to do that.
Okay, but
so I have.
but now we can, if you want to, like I say, Board of Selectmen representatives, and you're going to call him, we can go down and talk to him, we can have UTAS in the room too, we can have Mike Pansiero from ECOM, we can have all the players in the room, and you can talk and get as much information as you can.
And why are we not making that room open and available to the voters?
That might be a good thing. I'm not saying it's limited to us. I'm just thinking that, I mean, we could welcome, if we can talk to Maurice Hamill about that. And the drawback is him coming down here, or we going to him. Yes, Dale.
Well, having it here in this room would also allow people that can't make it to be able to view it on TV, I mean on YouTube.
Yeah.
So even if they're not physically here, they'll be able to see the discussion. So I think that it would allow more people access to the information. If we can get different parties to come in here and we can, you know, put it on YouTube, I think that's the way to go.
I agree with you 100%.
So it says also that there was the initial remediation plan that was submitted and approved by DEEP in 2010, and that in January, UTC submitted proposed revisions to the approved plan. And since that time, DEEP has provided 2 rounds of comments on those proposed revisions. What are those revisions? What are they? What was DEP's thoughts on those revisions? They keep talking about the disposal of the property and how UTC and a future owner need to come to terms. Well, what if UTC doesn't have a future owner? What if UTC is the current owner and there is nobody else interested? How do we get them to remediate the site then?
Well, now, DEP will get them to remediate the site, like I say, within the next year, starting in a year from now. We just have to say what we want.
3 or 4 or 5
So they also
years.
say later on that once revisions to the approved plan are resolved, the primary remaining tasks are permitting through the Army Corps and through local wetlands, along with an additional public meeting associated with the proposed changes to the plan. As soon as you're bringing the Army Corps in, you're not talking about having this done in a year. You're talking about having this done in a decade. You know, that is troubling. And that's the first time that I've heard it mentioned that the Army Corps was even a possibility. So somebody from DEP should be walking us through what the process is.
Why don't you, you're going to call him up. Tell me the date that he's going to walk us through when you find it out.
So here's how state government works, right? They don't care about who a selectman is. They care about who the head of the local government is. I'm going to be lucky to get the call return.
All right, then I'll set up a meeting for us. I don't have a problem with that.
There you go.
How about a Tuesday night?
Oh, here.
Yeah.
I can't do that. I tried. I will continue to do it, but I'm not doing a guarantee of when he'll be in. I can guarantee almost that if you guys want to go down and meet with him, we can do it in 2 weeks. But to get him in here, I'm not sure when I can get him in here.
It just doesn't allow the public to be part of the process. And it's going to have to go to a town meeting at some point, so they're going to need to know.
It's already gone to the town meeting. That's why I don't know why we're beating a dead horse to death. I think it was a courtesy for Attorney Yargeloff to let him try and save the buildings, but, you know, that's fine and dandy, because that would be a good use if he can pull it off.
Well,
But it's not
anytime
the
you guys want to
taxpayer's
vote
dime.
on it, we can
There's
vote on it.
nothing to vote on. It's already been voted on, Bob. It was voted
I'm not going to.
years ago.
I'm not going to go with a 15-year-old decision. I would want to have the support of all the selectmen, or at least the majority of the selectmen, on what we're going to do with it. Because we have choices.
I'm going to follow what the town meeting wanted us to do, unless you get
I
them
know
to
what your
rescind
vote
it.
is.
Unless you can get them to rescind it, that's fine.
Who's the town meeting?
The voters, the people
All
that
right.
really, they got the stake in this
Well,
town.
maybe we'll have a town meeting, vote on what we voted on.
What have we voted on?
We haven't
voted
voted
on
on anything.
anything.
That's the thing. We haven't made a decision at all.
Well, we need to find
So
out.
this is 29 meetings in a row where we haven't had an intelligent discussion about this.
We've discussed this thing to death. We all agreed at one time that we weren't going to take that property.
Right.
We said tear the buildings down because they're going to fall down anyway, okay?
Right.
Let them sell the land to somebody who will develop it if they clean it up enough so they can do so that we can collect some taxes on the thing.
We're getting
And
taxes.
whatever, people will go down there, they'll put up maybe shops, some kind of buildings or something down in there. Broadbrook will grow a little more. Okay, we'll get some tax dollars off it. But we shouldn't take that property. Because when any property the town owns, we don't collect a dime on to start with. So why do we want it? We don't need it.
Okay, you want to make that motion?
Forget it. And we've discussed it to death.
But nobody has had an intelligent.
And you know something, if this guy comes in here, you know how many people are gonna be in here to listen to this guy?
Tom would be interested.
Probably less than what you see right here now. Okay? No one's gonna come here to listen to that guy. No, they're not. So why waste his time? And that's what he thinks, that's why he's not coming. What, for 10 people to listen to what he's gotta say? We know what the land is, we know it's contaminated, and for them to do the job right, it's not capping it.
So how do we compel them to do that?
You're gonna have to sue them, like I've said before, because we don't stand up and fight for anything around here. Okay? You gotta threaten them, take them into court.
So you want to sue a Fortune 500
You're
company?
damn right.
All right, we can.
You gotta force them into it.
I'm going to just, let me, if I have the floor, we can get them to cap it. You said, how are we going to get it to cap it? That's not a problem. The biggest problem you put your finger on is the Corps of Engineers, but I think that's a manageable problem. All we have to do is say cap it.
No, we don't.
We
Why
don't
would
even
you
have-
want to cap it when you remediate it and make it useful? Capping it is not going to make it useful, as far as I know.
How are you going to?
You dig the garbage out,
They
dispose
would have
of
to
it
dig,
properly,
they would
and
have to dig
replace
it
it.
out, Bob.
Oh, they're not, what they're going to do is put 18 inches of soil on top of it.
See, that's the cheap way out.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the
Right.
cheap way.
That's not the
Yes.
right
But they
way.
can find the pockets. and
Well,
dig
It's all,
them
it's
out.
coal,
already
it's
know
coal,
where they are.
it's coal ash over 8 acres, spread over 8 acres. They gotta take it all out. When they're not gonna do it, what they're gonna do is put,
I know how they do it, I know what they're gonna do.
So what are the choices, and what is the carrot, and what is the stick to get them to move towards the desired choice?
what's the desired choice?
That's what I'm trying to get to.
I would like to see
However,
them clean it
the
up.
5 of
for
us
use.
don't have the gray matter between us to figure it out. We need somebody who's an expert, either UTAS, AECom, or DEEP. We cannot do this. There's nobody here who knows enough about the science associated with this, or the economics associated with this, or the liability associated with this, for us to be just making this up out of thin air. We should not do that.
Okay, well, I'll try to get the meeting if you will go.
Two of the
Yeah,
All right.
Two of the people you mentioned, you are really hired by the person that's responsible for cleaning it up. So if anything, DEEP should be the expert. They should be on our side, and they should be the neutral party. You're certainly not going to hire the guy that's, hired a fox to watch the hen house, basically.
I mean, can we set up a special taxing district and compel them through taxation to clean up?
That'd be interesting.
I think we actually could do that.
Make a special
It would
tax
be-
rate for a hazardous site.
Exactly.
Who would be in the taxing district?
Yeah.
Just the UTAS, just the.
Yeah. And I don't know if you could do it, but that's an idea, but
That's a-
somebody should be thinking about this. Morris could probably answer that for us.
All right, well,
They
that's.
have a whole unit on brownfield remediation.
Okay, all right.
I would certainly want to hear some expertise, but I want to hear it from a neutral or the regulatory side of it, and not the payee side of it, because it's just not going to get the right answers. You're going to get the cheapest answer and the most expedient answer for them, and that's not probably going to be the right answer for the town of East Windsor. If I'm
Okay, I'll
wrong,
set up
tell
the
me.
meeting.
And that's basically just exactly the same thing Steve said. I'm not pleased with it. I mean, that mill burned how many years ago?
86, right?
Something like that. Oh. Been a long time. This has been hanging on and, dragging out. And it's in the center of our village.
Thing is, we're not forcing them, we're not pushing them to do this.
It's time to fish or cut bait.
Okay, so we sit back and keep talking, and they know we're gonna do that, because they know we probably won't force them with legal. Okay, so they're gonna drag this out. Like I said right along, they're gonna keep dragging this out as long as they can. So if they just cap it, that'll be the end of it. We'll have green grass growing on it and maybe a couple of trees and it might look nice, but that'll be about the end of it.
And let somebody
Now, they'll
else
still
own
own it. So what is vacant land gonna bring in for taxes?
If it's commercial property, it's still valuable. Of course, they destroyed it with whatever.
Well, okay.
The issue with
Any
these-
more discussion?
I think we beat it to death again.
All right.
How are you gonna handle the Army Corps?
All right.
How are you gonna handle the Army Corps?
That is a good question for Maurice.
One of many.
If you, he, or anybody else can figure out how to get them on the stick, that would be quite the rabbit to pull out of the hat.
They've been had this for years. This was referred to them many years ago, if I'm not mistaken.
Plan's been revised.
Oh, boy.
Does the clock reset?
Probably. I'm sure it goes on the bottom of the, or the top of the pile, and they pick from the bottom, or the other, whichever way they do it. If they wait long enough, it's gonna remediate itself due to everything going and disappearing. It's gotten better, according to them.
Yeah, I read that.
It probably has. Solution to pollution is dilution. Every time it rains, you're diluting it.
You understand how that agency works?
Yeah.
If there's no problem, there's no job. You understand that? So they'll keep that problem going forever.
You think this is DEEP delaying this?
No. I mean, it's the way it works with government. If there's no problem, those agencies don't have a job. That means they don't need people. They'll keep something going on for years to make sure that somebody has a job, at least until they retire. That's how this stuff works.
So you don't see this as Utah's dragging this out? They get 2/3 of the way down, they change
They're
vendors.
dragging it out now.
I don't think we're getting anywhere.
This is such a quick cleanup over here. It should be done, I mean, they were supposed to do it this summer.
Yeah. In the summer before.
2 to 3 months.
And it's not gonna get done this summer even.
No, because by the time they get going on it, it'll be into the season with the mud, and then they won't be able to do it, and it'll be another year.
What is saying here for money? A few $1 million bucks?
So that they're committed to 1.13, is that right?
1.9.
That down there will cost them 15 million or better to clean that place up by the time they're done.
So the state's in for 3.9. Where's the rest?
I have to say UTC is responsible. They contaminated it.
And how do you compel them to clean it?
Not direct. And I guess you file a lawsuit and you get it in the papers and you show them what a lousy company they are to the small towns that they worked in. You embarrass them.
No offense to the JI, but I don't think that that's going to take down a Fortune 500 company.
No.
Hey, these people are in a lot of small towns across Connecticut with their factories and stuff, you know?
Not many anymore.
And you got to embarrass these people. You got to show the people what these people really are.
In fact, the one down in North Haven is being proposed for another big warehouse.
Yeah.
What, like in Windsor, and that was UTC's property. I mean, it's just a barren field. They sanitized it and pulled out. Rensselaer, there's another one. Sanitized it, pulled out, it's being reused.
So why can't they
Do
do
it
the
here.
same here?
Do the same
Yeah,
thing.
do the same for us.
Sanitize it, make it usable.
Yeah, do the same for us.
If they don't want it for residential, that's fine. You put a covenant on the deed and use it for business or whatever.
But we're a little hick town, so they're not worried about us, you know, fighting. Okay? That's the problem here. We don't fight.
Rearranged.
Only if it's a taxpayer.
Yeah.
Fighting creates law bills. And I've heard.
That's right.
You all complain about not wanting to pay the attorney's fees. So you can't have it both ways.
Well, you know, sometimes there are certain things that you gotta stand up and fight for. Right, Glenn?
Sure, Steve. I agree.
Okay, can we move on to the
Let's
next
move on.
topic?
Rebecca's here.
I want to let Paul take this one. Go ahead, Paul.
Oh, I'll be happy
Let's
to.
talk about it.
I have your notes.
I know.
We were dogging it until she got here.
Oh, you didn't have to do that.
She looks better than
It's
you.
okay, you got the longest running subject in the history of mankind. Okay, so, 250th Anniversary Committee. Business and resident fundraising letters have been sent out and money is coming in. I have no idea what volume, but it's coming in.
It slowed down drastically after last week.
Yeah, probably. The East Windsor book, which is Images of America, East Windsor, by Seal Donahue and Jessica Bottomley with the East Windsor Historical Society, the advance cover, will be ready August 7th. There will be a book signing September 7th at the Book Club bookstore in South Windsor from 6 to 7 p.m. if you want an autographed copy. The Historical Society is having their ice cream social August 12th, where we will be selling all our merchandise plus the books. So don't miss that event, because that's going to be spectacular. That's the grand opening of the Osborne House. There's many things being done at that site. And that's going to be the big show.
What time is that?
What, the ice cream social?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
1 o'clock?
Yeah, I think it's around
I
1.
think it's 1.
1 to 3 or something.
Hope it's
along
not
those
as hot
lines.
as last year.
What was the date of that?
August 12th.
August 12th, Saturday. Pretty important event for the town.
Yeah, but last year was hot.
We're just gonna
It was gross out
participate
last
in
year.
it. But the books will be available starting August 7th. So that's going to be important. They will be on sale at the Broadbrook Library on August 9th, I believe, which is,
Whenever I get the books, or whenever Sil gets the books and we distribute them as well, they'll be
Yep.
there. So,
we're planning on it though.
and same for the town hall. They'll be at the town hall for purchase,
they'll be
and the Warehouse Point Library, and then any of our events that we go to as well.
What's that picture of, tobacco or something there?
It is. That is,
What are they doing? Hanging it or stripping it?
good
going on
question. This particular image isn't very clear. But I can't tell you what they're doing it, but I do know they're doing it
If you buy the
indoors.
book, you can find out.
There should be a caption on the bottom, Paul.
Pardon?
There's a caption there, isn't there?
Yeah, Images of America, East Windsor book.
Oh,
That's
okay.
what the caption is. Because that's just a picture that got sent out and it was a low resolution picture. But it's better than no picture at all. So, just so you're aware, that's where we are in a 250. Our merchandise is selling pretty well, so. There you go.
Okay, discussion of casino.
Quick question about that before we move on. We have other boards, actually, Paul would be the one to correct me here. We have other commissions that we appoint. Why don't they have a report to us? Why do we have the 250 every 2 weeks and no other appointed commissions?
Committee's report.
Okay, same point, except in certain committees. Why don't we ever have anybody else submit reports or present to us on what their charge is?
Well, if you'd like one, I'll ask one.
There's a bunch. I mean, we could, I don't see that we need to keep having this one on the spot.
Well, the fire district had one on there for a while too, while they were a thing, and then
Yep.
they always had a report when I was here too, so.
Yep.
It's actually as directed when the committee is established.
No, it depends on the charge. Some of them are required to annually that never do.
Oh, I'm not saying everybody does it, I'm saying that's where it comes from though. The frequency is, I believe, when it's established.
Yep. So do we have some others as well?
Like I said, if you want a committee, let me know. Yeah, I will invite committees I want. You can invite committees we want. That's fine.
Okay. How about agriculture?
Want the agriculture?
Yes, please.
Now, where do you work? In what department?
I work for the Department of Agriculture.
Okay,
That's kind of obvious.
Why couldn't you get a job like that?
my pleasure, I'll invite
Did you
them.
ever farm? Or you just said it was political?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm a political appointment.
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
that.
I know you know that.
I know that too,
You're being
right?
sarcastic.
Okay, now we'll move on to discussion of casino.
Yes.
All right. Don't have much to say, other than the governor has signed the bill, and there's some federal stuff with the Bureau of Indian Affairs that has to be done, and then we'll move on to local stuff, permits and planning and zoning, so.
Well, that process, that's going to run in parallel, right?
Which process is
The
that?
BIA approval and the local approvals, they're not going to
Yes.
wait one for the other.
We're not waiting. We're not waiting to begin the planning and zoning process.
Okay, so they are going to run parallel tracks. They're going
Yes.
to. Excellent.
Yeah, we are. We haven't got an application in yet, do we?
No,
Not as of today.
that's correct.
Any sense of when that may be?
I do have a sense that on next Wednesday or Thursday, there's going to be a conversation between the town, probably myself, Lori Whitten, and some representatives of MMCT, just to begin a dialogue having to do with the approval process for planning and zoning. I guess wetlands too.
Wetlands is first.
Okay, wetlands first.
Unfortunately, that's the way it goes. Keep us informed, please.
Yeah. In fact, again, if you'd like, this is just, could be very well a telephone conference, just a few people starting the ball rolling, just talking to each other.
Next.
Okay. Next, South Roads, long term, but I got from Josh, our town attorney, and I think he copied in the Legal Affairs Subcommittee let's see if I get the right thing, a settlement and release agreement. And he read it and felt that we should at this meeting approve it. And in the settlement and release agreement is between Sandra Person, who is the owner of the home, the Illinois Union Insurance Company, and the town of East Windsor.
This is over the spell?
This is over the spill. Once this settlement and release form is signed, and it has to be signed by the town of East Windsor, the Illinois Union Insurance Company, and Sandra Person, then they'll start filling in the hole and fixing her backyard. So I would entertain a motion to.
Do you have copies of it?
I have one copy here, and you received a copy from.
I don't remember seeing that. I may have just missed it, but I'd like to take a look at it before.
Okay, and we can do that.
So that should be in our packet, stuff like that, Bob.
I agree.
I really feel
But it
uncomfortable
was sent
voting
to
on
you,
it
Dick.
without having time
It was
to.
sent to, maybe you
I
don't
didn't get it either, but we've been having serious trouble with our phones and computers and everything else. Something like that, we really should read at our leisure.
I totally
before.
agree.
I don't like voting on stuff just handed to us.
I can make copies if you want. Not at all, because I'd like to read it.
Yes.
Okay, well,
We have to call a special meeting.
I think we should, because if that's delayed, then the filling in of that person's backyard is delayed, so we might have to have a special meeting. Let's see now.
When was that sent?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, if I had a memo here. An email. I think it was sent June 6th.
June 6th.
And it,
June 6th is today.
I think
It's July 6th.
July 6th, I misspoke.
Yep. It was sent today.
No, June 6th.
Sent June 6th. I didn't get it.
No, you're on it. He sent it to you. He addressed it to. All right,
I don't have it.
I believe you.
So when she gets back, can we just go kind of like summarizing it?
Okay.
So the other thing, while we're waiting, I'll introduce the second thing on South Road. But you had asked at the last meeting that Pullman be approached about providing a background on the underlying South Road issue about ownership and disposal of ownership.
What I asked at the last, or what I'm concerned about is that I would like an attorney to help me resolve the South Road issue.
And so that, I asked that they provide the history and pathways forward, and that's what I have just handed out. That's what this is.
I don't think, well, I'll read this.
Yeah, the pertinent part is the second, the longest paragraph. The second to last paragraph is the stuff you're really going to read today.
In general? Okay.
Yeah, that actually lays out the process by which the ownership could be transferred, but there are substantial restrictions on that. And other governmental hurdles that will have to be overcome.
According to Pullman and Conley.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly what this says right here is exactly what we've been saying right along. You know, we could accept that road as is, such as it is. There's a lot of town roads that don't meet the town specifications that we've had for a long time.
There are also issues pertaining to the Connecticut Department of Housing.
That would be the sign-off.
Yeah,
I agree with
It says any sale of the site by the town to a nonprofit entity but the ground lease seems to indicate that it can sell it to anyone it wants. The town can sell it to anyone it wants.
Or we could subdivide it, which there's a map already available with everything on it. We'd have to go before the ZBA and get the lots accepted as undersized lots because they don't meet the zoning code. Or create a zone that those lots are acceptable. And yes, we could sell that to each individual tenant.
And when you say the ground lease, are you referencing the short form ground lease or the master ground lease?
Master ground lease.
Okay.
The only covenant we would have to put on it is that it has to be low-income people, which would restrict their ability to sell a house to, you know, somebody with a large income, which...
And there's been, the biggest and first issue is that there's been no subdivision. The property hasn't been subdivided, and there's been no variances granted against the property. So you actually can't convey one piece of property to 16 owners.
Nope.
There needs to be a subdivision that has that takes place.
Now,
Yes,
does it say that in here?
Yes.
Where does it say that?
The complication in this is that the site has not been subdivided and the road not dedicated to the town, so a conveyance of individual units is not possible.
Well, okay, so
The town would need to, but the town would need to formally subdivide the site and either dedicate the street as a public right-of-way or create a private easement in favor of each unit to use and pay for the cost to maintain the roadway. And it also would require a restricted covenant that the property is maintained as low and moderate income housing, and that we could sign off on the Department of Housing.
But I'll read this. that, a paragraph that Joe, from the master ground lease, has pointed out on numerous occasions.
Is that gentleman Joe? Are you
Yes,
Joe?
it is, certainly
Hi, Joe.
is.
How are you?
We should really give him a copy of the,
Yeah, that would be good.
don't you think? You got an extra?
I don't have one.
It says,
Yeah.
change of landlord leasee's right to purchase. In the event that the ownership of and title to leased premises is conveyed by the leaser to any other person or entity, this lease shall not cease, but shall remain binding and unaffected. So that's the first start.
Right.
So it talks about selling ownership of the leased premises, which is the land.
Yep.
Okay.
Right, yep.
However, in the event the leaser, that's us, desires to sell or convey the leased premises to any person or entity other than a non-profit corporation, charitable trust, governmental agency, or other similar entity sharing the goals and objectives set forth in the recitals above. So you say they can't sell it to a nonprofit. It says if they're going to, the leasee shall have the right of first refusal to purchase the leased premises at a fair market price. That means if we're going to sell it to an LLC or something, a corporation, and they don't care about the nonprofit stuff or the charitable trust or anything, well then the leasee has a right to purchase that land that we're going to sell to the corporation at a fair market price. That's what this lease says.
Yeah, but the point that is made in the handout that I passed around is that there isn't a subdivision of the property. So you have one 4-acre parcel.
Okay.
You can't sell that to one person.
You can. We own it. Somebody else owned it.
Well, you're still,
There's people in town that own the property.
We own it in concert with the master ground lease. We fit the terms that were laid out in the master ground lease.
absolutely.
Well, no, I'm not going to get into arguing. I'm not a lawyer, but I do need a lawyer to figure out how we can unload this. But
This is the pathway. It's
Right here.
okay,
It's right here.
What is it? Subdivided? You said.
Yeah, that's the first
Absolutely.
thing. Subdivide it, you need to accept the road, you need to get sign off from the Commissioner
Well,
of Housing.
I don't know if we need to. What if we made it a condominium complex?
I don't know how to do that.
That might be,
Well, that
that
a
would be a
lawyer
question
might.
we need
Right.
an answer on. But the cleanest way and the best way for the people, hopefully, would be to let them purchase, probably gonna have to be at a pretty reasonable price, the property that their house is on. That does many things. It makes their house whole. Instead of being a tenant on a piece of land with a house that you can't move, it becomes a complete unit.
There's also a restrictive covenant on the property. And there were terms by which the property was originally acquired by from the United States government.
Right, but that is that it be low to moderate income housing, correct?
Yep,
So that would have to be a covenant on the deed when you transfer the land.
yeah.
You won't sell it to a millionaire, basically. That would be a one covenant, and that might be the deciding factor. Because he may not want to buy that property if he can only sell it to people of a certain income level. That makes it a lot harder
I
to
think we're
sell.
getting pretty far away from.
But that's basically what the legal says.
I would like to have a lawyer I could talk to because I think we're pretty far beyond condominiums.
Okay, so we're done with this?
Done with it for now.
Done with it for now.
Settlement agreement.
Yeah.
Okay, discussion of Pond Road. Oh, no, I'm sorry, you're
We
right.
brought this up.
No, I'm ahead of myself. Okay, here's the settlement agreement.
So what does this say in a nutshell?
In a nutshell, it talks about that who is going to take on what payment responsibilities for the mitigation. And it said the primary is going to be picked up by the IUIC, Illinois Union Insurance Company. The town puts in the $10,000 deductible, and there's releases of liability on page 4. In consideration of recitals, promises, covenants made in this agreement, persons hereby released above and dissolve the town and IUIC from any and all actual, alleged, potential claims, demands, actions, causes of action, and other liabilities arising from the claim. So it's just indemnifying themselves from further litigation and payments once it's remediated.
And where does it say that we're responsible for the $10,000 deductible and nothing more?
2.6.
2.6?
I think that's it.
And if you find, and maybe I could go get it, that memo from Josh, he said that this was proposed by the Illinois Union Insurance Company, and he said, he replied to them, I've read the agreement, I'm fine with it.
So that just says that there is a $10,000 deductible.
So this is basically releasing her homeowner's insurance company from a liability for her tank that
No,
leaked on
no,
our
it's
property?
not, it's not her insurance company, it's the Kerma's insurance company that they subrogated the claim to. They're the subrogated insurance company is the one that pays most of the claim. They paid everything but $10,000, which we paid.
2.4 is, town leases the site and the real property surrounding the site to Creative Housing Incorporated?
Yeah, that's not right.
That's not right.
That's
We
correct.
can't vote on this.
Could you authorize me to sign it once I get approval from the town attorney? Or once we get a letter from the town attorney saying it's...
Where does it state, Bob, who's paying for what? You mentioned that we're picking up the $10,000
Well,
deduction.
that's where it mentioned the $10,000 is where you said in 2.6.
Yeah.
The policy has a self-insured retention of $10,000, and that's describing the policy that the town has with Kerma.
Okay, yeah, it does say to preserve any and all subrogation and recovery contribution and indemnification rights town may have. Okay, it does say that. It's on 2.10.
So where does it say though that the town, I want to see where it says that we are responsible for paying $10,000.
2.6.
That's the policy. It just says there
There's
is
a
a
self-insured
$10,000
retention of $10,000. That's the same as a
On each pollution
deductible
condition.
for each pollution condition.
So there is a $10,000 deductible.
Yes.
Yes.
Where does it say that it should say that we are obligated to pay that.
But we're the policyholder.
We're the policyholder, right?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
right.
Yep. I was just worried about the subrogation rights not being in there because the other insurance company is still, you know, if your car went out there on the street and dumped all the oil and the gas in the street, out there on the state highway, you don't think the state won't go after that?
And I think
And they will collect. Absolutely.
So how much did this whole mess cost him in total?
Cost,
What's the whole cleanup of this
Yeah.
incident?
100 grand.
yeah, about 100 grand. About.
100 grand.
Just
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
Before it's over.
So our deductible's 10 grand and that's all we gotta worry about.
Yeah, and maybe we get
Yeah.
it back, but I doubt it. But
I doubt it too, but.
State Farm
I
is
think
not
if-
paying anything. They're the ones that insured the
Right.
homeowner's property. Property
think
being
that's-
the containment tank and the oil tank, and it's what caused the problem.
Like I said, we gotta have some kind of an inspection.
I think we should.
This can't go on again.
Because if that's all we gotta pay, on 100 grand,
We shouldn't have to pay a dime.
whatever, so we're gonna have to pay it, so let's pay it and get it
It's
over
already
with.
paid.
Okay, good.
We already
And
voted
we're
for
lucky
that.
that's all we had to pay.
This is the
And we should have
paperwork.
learned a lesson from this. It's time to get this thing subdivided and give this land to these people for $1 and be done with it.
Joe's got the plan.
I've seen that.
It's all
plan.
drawn. So there must be a Mylar somewhere
Yeah, yeah,
in file.
I think so.
So it's the matter of accepting a road and subdividing the property and here you go.
And we should move on.
It's more than that.
But it has to put the restriction on the deed for the low income. That has to stay.
And get sign off from the Connecticut Department of Housing.
Yeah, okay. And I think we need to work towards that. Frankly, if they don't want to pay the $1, I think I'll pass the hat and give them the $1. Get the headache out of here. And it would make the people whole, it would make their house worth a lot more, because they do own the property. It's like owning a house trailer in a trailer park. You own the trailer, but at least that's got wheels, you could move it. I don't know where you'd move it to, but it wouldn't be in this state.
Yeah, down on South Road, they have though land rental,
Right.
land leasing, and I don't think they're trailers.
No, they're modulars, similar to the school. But they did come in on trailers. They all had axles and wheels under them.
You have 2 halves put together.
Right.
Could you roll them out of there?
You know something?
Yes,
You
you
probably
could.
could.
Yeah.
Yes, you could.
You probably could.
You could take the modular house if you wanted to and disassemble it and move it too. It'd probably fall apart when you tried, but you could do it, theoretically.
Who would you talk to about getting rid of the low income on those houses? That has to go.
I don't think it can.
That's
What
what
do
we're
you mean,
coming
you
in
know?
with the federal government.
Well, then the federal government, I don't know how you get them involved. We can't get DEP
Well,
and
I
the rest
think-
of them involved.
Right? Well, DEP got us involved. What do you think we're having all this problem from? From DEP? Because they started the remediation process without any notification to us, and then we get notice and plop, it ends up in our hands. So I think DEP is really, should have a gold star for this mess. And then we were foolish enough to keep going with remediation without getting more than one quote. Again, because nobody knew about it until after the fiasco was well along.
Okay, any decisions?
Well, if Josh said it's okay,
There are clear errors in it.
but we can't let this go. The errors have to be corrected.
Okay, so,
The underlying issue is, there was a spill, it was remediated, a claim was filed.
You're right.
There is a policy that names the town as an insured, and then we have a $10,000 deductible obligation.
Right.
Those are all facts not in dispute, right?
Right.
it's also a fact that there's a hole in this person's backyard that should be filled in, and this settlement agreement allows that to occur, and the insurance company, Illinois insurance company, will pay for it. if this is signed.
The only thing, and I get all of this, I think we absolutely need to do it, we should do it. The only thing I'm really a little leery of is it references creative housing.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yes, that's got to be
That's
changed.
in error, and I agree with you.
So,
They caused the whole debacle.
well, indirectly.
They took the money already.
So I'll tell you what. $10,000 appropriation needs to go through the Board of Finance and not to town meeting, right? Hey, Board of Finance guys.
We were told that you were gonna fight for that $10,000 to the end of the earth. And what I'm hearing is you've already had it appropriated, I believe. It's already been done. It was done
Did we
to pay
do
the
it?
contractor. So we're waiting for the 10 grand to come back, and you're about to sign off on a form that isn't correct.
We're not
And
signing.
the 10 grand, I'm getting worried we're not gonna get it back. Why aren't we getting the 10 grand back from these people?
So-
It's their
Nobody's signing
property.
off on anything.
Hold off on your soapbox. That's not what we're trying to do.
No.
I'm asking if we have first of all, I'll ask two questions.
All righty.
Has there been a $10,000 appropriation already
I
submitted to
believe
the
it
Board of
was.
Finance?
Is
I
that
think
correct?
it's been made.
Kathy shaking her head, yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys, I didn't see that.
That's all right, I'm bigger than her, so,
Howdy too, Joe.
just a little.
So the appropriation has been made to pay the deductible.
It's, as far as I knew, it's not only been appropriated, it's the check's been cut and gone.
I think it is. I think
I
we
agree.
signed the
We
check.
were
paid
told
for
that
that.
it was
Yes.
not right to hold the contractor at bay while the insurance companies fought it out, and the Board of Finance was under the impression that nothing else was going to be done with 10 grand until that was settled, because we didn't, the Board of Finance really didn't feel the town should be responsible in any way, shape, or form.
Except we hold the insurance policy
Right.
and there's a deductible. That's
Right.
no
Well,
question.
but was the property that wasn't ours maintained properly, and did that, I mean, this probably should be going to court, but maybe that's why we're not going. But I'm not hearing even that discussion.
Yeah, no, we're not going.
You're not reading it, Jim, because you don't have it. Section 210, it says that, and it says, and specifically preserve any and all subrogation and recovery contribution and indemnification rights.
This came from or through?
The town and IUIC may
Well,
have against
but it-
person.
It came from the
But
insurance
originated from the
Insurance company don't want to pay the 10 grand.
I'm sorry,
They won't pay anything.
the
That's
acronym, the Illinois Union Insurance Company.
Right.
They wrote this,
Right.
and
Okay,
they sent
so-
it to Josh.
So it's possible that this policy has been in place since creative housing was still an entity.
No,
No,
It is not
this is the town
no,
policy.
this is the town.
This is our
insurance
policy, Jason.
So when was the policy issued?
I think we
It's part of Kerma.
sign up for a Kerma insurance every
Right.
year.
Okay, so, okay.
This is Kerma's deal. The only thing
I was
is,
trying to figure out how creative housing got into the policy.
I think this was written, this is my speculation, now speculate. That's the Illinois, whatever insurance company, tried to understand the situation, and probably our legal team explained it to them best they could. And they probably, in the history, talked about this creative housing, and so, and since the Illinois insurance company wrote it, they misunderstood. And this is incorrect. That's my speculation.
So we need to have a special meeting.
2.4 needs to be
As
corrected.
soon as possible, but it needs, the verbiage needs to be.
Right, no problem.
Okay.
You're gonna have it in
I
your
don't have a
office
problem with
and-
that.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah, it needs to be.
I really, I can't in good conscience
No, sign it.
approve it.
Well, I'm not gonna, I would, the only alternative that I would think about would be that you would allow me to approve it under certain circumstances, and that would be that Josh Hawks Ladd sent a letter to all of us saying that he agreed with any changes we made. And then we wouldn't have to meet. That's all I'm trying to do is prevent us from having to meet, but I'll meet anytime, I don't care.
I'd really rather make sure the language was right.
I do too, I didn't say
I'm sorry to
that.
be that guy, but.
No, I agree.
No, I agree too. I would like to see,
So,
you know,
but I'm just saying, can we avoid a meeting? You're saying that
It's important.
it's important
That's
enough.
fine.
No, what's it
All
gonna
right.
take? 5 minutes?
Yeah, I agree.
If Josh reads it, signs off on it, we got it there, fine.
Okay, all right. then we'll do
It's
a
just the
special meeting.
situation isn't described correctly. I don't have a problem.
Okay, got it.
Yes.
All right, moving on, Pond Street.
Let's just keep coming.
They do.
Let's keep
But
going.
Pond Street, though, I talked to Paul Lowry, the person in charge of fixing Pond Street from the Connecticut Water Company. He's the foreman, and he basically said they're going ahead, they're going to pave it towards the end of the summer, and they're going to own it, and the town's not going to own it, so that's
Resolution.
resolution in a sense, yes.
Yeah.
You won't see that anymore on the agenda. Okay, can we move on to new business?
Well, we should leave it on the agenda until it's done, just so we know.
Okay,
For progress.
We'll put it on and off.
Put it
when
under
yeah.
unfinished. Make it finished when there's pavement.
Okay. New business, American Heritage River Commission fee proposal, and that's Barbara.
Paul took the chair. Maybe giving it a good one.
And I do have some things to pass out. There was something in your package, but let's see if I have it. Yes, I don't. Oh, here it is. Barbara brought this in today. Now, this is some more stuff. Okay, you have the floor.
Well, first, this is listed as American Heritage River Commission fee proposal. I think that's incorrect. This fee proposal came as a result of the grant that I did on behalf of the town of East Windsor. Not as American Heritage River Commission. The grant was from the town of East Windsor to DEP. DEP.
Don't worry, they're not going to come and talk to us about
What
this
can I
either.
say? Anyway, what had happened is that because we are part of the river councils and other agencies, we received notification that there was grant money from DEP for recreational trails. Lori Whitten was approached to do the grant so that we could improve the trails over near Melrose Bridge. She was short-staffed, and she said at no point did she have the time, and it is very time-consuming, to do the grant, and she said no. I volunteered to do the grant. This walkway is something that was started and applied for way back in 2007 and subsequently several times after that by Robin Newton. Robin had been the assistant town planner, and she was trying to get this walkway built across Melrose Bridge to get to the other side to improve our trails. So I took Robin's paperwork from her various applications, and I tried to reconfigure it to bring it 10 years further, and needed some help because I'm not an engineer, I'm not a lawyer, I'm just a housewife. But anyway, went to Lynn Norton to find an engineer who could give me some information, and the man who had helped way back was Karan Majidlador, and Len Norton knows him, and he said he'd contact him, and conversation started back and forth as to what we wanted to do. Robin's plan was to use Melrose Bridge and to put new decking on it, but that was 2007. Forward 10 years, the bridge is not in good enough condition to do that. So our proposal for this grant was to put a prefab walkway using the existing buttresses and just put it within the framework of the bridge, not touching the bridge. Anyway, back and forth with Karan, several letters with his amounts. We needed him in order to find out how much we were going to need for this grant to make it happen. He had the expertise because he had been reviewing that area back, like I said, from 2007. Various times throughout, he was in contact with Lori Winton, back and forth. So there's numbers that kept coming. We received a phone call from Russo Associates that they would be willing to help with it, whatever we needed. And the reason why they jumped in, young Joe Ussery had done a project when he was a student at Connecticut Central State University and Central Connecticut State. And the project that they did was to put a park down near Melrose Bridge. So he had all the architectural designs, he had the grades, he had the remediation that we need to avoid any erosion, et cetera, et cetera. So he was willing to let us use his information if we needed it. When I went to talk to him and Mr. Russo directly, Mr. Karan was there. Lots of conversations back and forth, and Mr. Karan really wanted the bridge taken down and replaced. He said, no, 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 historic register, okay? He said, then do it right, and it's going to cost $500,000, okay? There's not that kind of money. The amount that DEP was having available for the whole state was $400,000. So no way were we getting $500,000. Anyway, I kept saying, this is the amount of money that we've got. We've got $85,000. We need to do this, or we send it back. He said, well, you know what? If I'm going to keep working, I expect to be paid. I've been working on this project for years. I really thought because he had been working on the project for years that he would be the one that would be doing the project and therefore he would get paid. And I said, I'm sure you'll get paid. Fast forward, the last bit that he came up with came to $164,000 using his way of doing it. Again, I kept telling everybody we've got $85,000. So, two things. It is not a bill from the American Heritage River Commission that they incurred. No way. Number two, it cannot come from the grant. DEP's rule is that there cannot be any invoiced bill prior to the money being allocated. Guess what? Even though we were told we've got the grant going to be funded, we still don't have the money. We need the state treasurer's office to give us an identification number. And then the money gets put onto that little note, and then we can start doing invoiced work. So everything's been on hold. So it can't come from the grant, and it is not the responsibility of the River Commission did not incur it. It was incurred basically on behalf of the town.
So could I, have you spoken with the EPA about whether or not the award counts towards the, when the clock starts ticking is when the award letter is issued, or when it's actually when the money's deposited?
When the Treasurer's Office assigns us a number for our project, that is when invoiced work can start to be done. We can do whatever volunteer work, in-kind work can be done ahead of time.
So this is an upfront grant, not a reimbursement grant? Can't be a reimbursement grant. It's too much money.
Right, We will,
Okay.
we will present invoices for work, they will then cut the check to pay for it.
Well, this will be
When my
one of the
agency-
invoices.
I'm sorry?
This will be one of the
It
invoices, the
cannot be.
engineering.
If you see the date of it, it's March 3rd. As I said, we don't have the money. The money has not been assigned to this project.
Yeah, but these are the upfront costs before you get
There
it.
cannot be
assigned.
any invoiced work done. I've been talking to DEP several times,
They're like the Voldemort of state
and
agencies.
they're very definite about invoiced work.
Here we go
And in
again.
talking to Mr. Karan, his statement was, he'd been working on this for several years. So I don't feel that this is really anything just this 2016 grant application. This went back to work that he's been doing on behalf of the town since 2007, trying to get this project going.
Who hired him?
Pardon?
Who actually hired
Nobody
him?
hired him. He was consulted going back by Robin Newton, and then,
So basically, the wetlands are the planning
correct.
agency. Like this.
So the long and short of it is, there's a $1,250 bill that needs to be paid.
Correct.
Okay. How much is in the contingency fund?
I think we could, well, now we're in a new fiscal year, so I think, imagine there's 70,000, isn't that
I
correct?
don't remember how much is budgeted.
I don't remember exactly, but I would say 70,000.
Any way you look at it, it's more than 1,250.
Yes.
So I move to recommend to the Board of Finance payment of the invoice to, what's the guy's name?
Karan Madhur.
Kiran Majmador.
Yeah.
Do you have the spelling? In the amount of $1,250 for an invoice dated March 3rd, 2017.
I'll second that.
Discussion?
Would recommend that that be paid out of the contingency fund. Contingency fund.
Actually, the work was done in the previous fiscal year. So if there is a balance left from the previous fiscal year, theoretically, the costs were incurred last year.
Well, that's true.
So we've
It should come out of
the
last
motion,
year's.
so the motion was to recommend payment to the Board of Finance, and we recommended where they pay it from. If they decide they want to pay it from somewhere else, I'm fine with that. Or somewhere else, I guess.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know where else you're gonna get it from.
Well, from the contingency fund, now whether,
Or CNR, maybe there's some CNR funding. I don't know, that's what happens.
yeah, all right.
I hope he doesn't think we're gonna continue on and sandblast that and repaint it and all of that rigmarole.
He's not in it. His price to do it the way he wants to do it is on $64,000. He is not going to be.
So in other words, we should thank him for his wonderful work and say, see you later. Have nothing more to do with him.
Correct.
So the check should be payment full for all services to date.
I agree.
Because you're gonna get it.
Motion made and seconded.
Motion is made and seconded.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
And Steve, I didn't hear your vote.
Not sure.
You could say abstain.
I'm sure.
Just as a sidebar, if he had done the project, his total fee would have been $15,000. Just adding that. Which flabbergasted me.
So how can people from other departments just go out and get somebody like this
They're not supposed to.
and just put them on the payroll?
Okay, going back, Robin Newton was part of planning and zoning. And she was the one who started to do the grant. Okay, in order to do it, you need an engineer to come up with how it's going to be feasible to do your project.
Well, there should be minutes somewhere requesting the funds for that.
Well, I'm gonna,
So don't these people have to come before the board and say, I'd like to hire a guy like this? to-"
Yeah,
And
I think
the Board
that,
of Finance.
you know, it was a procedure over 10 years, and so I think it's kind of,
Should be a record somewhere of who
Well,
hired him.
yeah, but
And
I
we
think,
certainly should have that.
but I think we have to pay them. So if you guys aren't,
Just get rid of the bill and be done with it?
that's what I say. So, but if, I'll vote. If you don't, you can,
Yeah, go ahead.
okay. All right. Three to 1. Okay. Now, discussion of, and you're on the agenda, first of all. Let me say that Scout Hall,
Yes,
pump station is on the agenda.
and it's important,
Yeah, okay.
because we do have information.
Have a nice night.
I mean, whatever comes out of this, the ball's in your court, but providing with information is very important. All right, so I had our superintendent look at what it would take to put a generator at the pump station itself all by itself. And I got the information today. Amazing how long it can take. So, the bottom line is, because of the low demand on the pumps, we need a pretty small generator just for that pump station. But the issue is, when you go to three-phase generators, they only get just so small in capacity. 15, 20 kilowatts is about as small as you can get, even though we could probably get away with something a little less. It doesn't matter because you can't get a generator that small. And today we've got an estimate from Tower Generator, just to get something, because he's our generator guy that we use. He was recommending a propane fueled, but that's not because we have gas. 22 kilowatts. He estimated the installed price to run between $21,000 and $23,000. If you go diesel, it's 27 to 30, and diesel's stupid because now you got a tank out there. We don't need that. And that little tiny piece of dirt. So, okay, now the smaller generator at the Scout Hall, there's already a deposit on it. So that won't be available.
I'm sorry, say that again?
The small generator, the 30 kilowatt generator at the Scout Hall, there's already a deposit.
So you sold it, or you're selling it?
So it's being sold, we're selling both of them.
Okay.
Nothing's happening.
We is who?
Wait a
We
minute,
as
you
the
guys,
Scout Hall Building Committee, because we own them.
well, you guys offered it to the town.
Right.
at
We
one point.
offered it to the town to help support the purchase of a generator for the building. That's what we did.
Well, so what are you doing selling them when you made the offer?
Well, if your goal is to put a
You know, Paul,
if your goal is to put a generator at the pump station only, which is the last discussion, then there is no generator for the Scout Hall.
okay.
We offered what we have. Now, the bigger one is still there.
Yeah, but you don't have an enclosure for it,
That's correct.
so forget it.
Now, the town is receiving a 20 kilowatt generator from Park Hill.
Is it three-phase?
Probably single phase.
So-
That's what's expected, and I believe it's diesel, so it's probably a big mistake anyhow. Go ahead.
Because I'm not an energy guy, can somebody explain to me what the difference is between a one phase and a three phase?
Yes,
Go ahead.
yes. Okay. Three phase is when you get a transformer from the power company,
Yep.
and power comes in and it's split up into three completely separate phases.
What is a phase?
Okay, in your house,
Yep.
you have
I'm with you so far.
you have two-phase power coming into your house.
Single,
Single phase. And it's,
unless you're in Hartford.
Right.
Then you have
You're
two-phase
correct. Excuse me.
You're
five-wire.
talking about the meters?
but No, power coming into your house,
Electricity.
okay? You have 220 coming in, and
Yes.
it's normally used in two 110 segments with various breakers, okay? But with three-phase, the motors are built different, multiple windings instead of one. So the power is split up in a way that it rotates the motor just so far, then the next phase kicks in, the next phase kicks in, and that's what makes the motor run. It's more efficient for larger devices.
Okay.
Okay, so that's what factories run on.
Three phases cheaper.
Cheaper
to run.
cheaper
It's
It's
also.
less amps.
Is that true?
It
Yeah,
depends.
Less amps.
Yeah, less amps, but it depends on the demand.
But the demand is the key, but that's a separate item. We're gonna get into chasing things. We're talking about a generator here.
Yeah, all I need to do is be able to understand what you're talking about for this
The
conversation.
problem is that the system is a three-phase system. It requires three-phase power. It's the best way to describe it.
The system you're talking about is the generator? Oh, the pump station requires three phase, okay.
I mean, Scout all runs three-phase also. No, there's no why. It is. We're not talking about why.
The only thing I've seen you guys have managed to do is try and box us into a corner.
It's been
And I'm not buying it.
been three-phase since day one, so that's a
It doesn't matter.
Again, three phase from day one is the pump station?
The pump
or Scout
station.
Hall?
Both.
Oh, what were you referring to there though?
The pump station.
Okay.
We're not reinventing the pump station with,
That's a super overkill.
So the generator you're talking about will do the pump station and run the Scout Hall to,
no, absolutely not. This was, no, $21,000 to $23,000 is what Tower Generator says will run that pump station, period, nothing else. And we physically be put there. Now, we're not doing this, we're getting the information because that was requested. What's it gonna take to make that work? So that 20-some thousand dollars as opposed to the 56,000 we talked about to run the whole place? Whatever.
The 22,000 is that parts and equipment, or is that labor, is that,
Complete installed price.
it's a complete installed price and implies?
It's not a quote, this is an estimate.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm assuming though that that means labor too, is that fair?
Yes, that's a complete installed price.
And is there a way, or is there anybody on either the WPCA staff or town staff who is capable and properly licensed to do that type of installation?
No,
No.
no.
So we have to contract that out with, I'm guessing.
With somebody in the generator company, that's what you do it with.
Okay.
And electricians, and you need a plumber for the gas lines, and you need all those people to make these things work. Definitely. Yes, that's,
So,
well, I'm bringing that information. We also looked at the cost of eliminating the pump station and putting sewer pipe down Route 5.
that's good, I bet that's a pretty penny.
About 300,000.
From, for the eighth of a mile from Route 5?
It's 1,900 feet, so it's not an eighth of a mile.
It's closer to where?
It's over.
No.
Yes. But the reason, and we went back and researched, the reason this was done the way it was is because there are areas that can be reached, such as the soccer fields. Becomes important, maybe someday, something will want to happen there besides porta potties. The soccer fields that they want to connect to the sewer, if we went with what it would take to eliminate the pump station, they'd never make it. So then another pump would have to be put in to get their sewage over to the gravity line. I mean, it's almost like, well, you do this, you do that, but you're doing something. So that's why it was done originally. And keep in mind that when that land came to the town's possession, the soccer fields were happening at the same time the Scout Hall was happening. And exactly what was going to happen was unknown. So this was done basically for that capability. And that would be eliminated if we didn't do the pump station at all. We got rid of it. Added pretty substantial cost. So I'm just trying to give you facts to work on, because if you're gonna do something, you wanna know what you're trying to do. And where you going with all of this, I don't know.
But if you put the gravity line in, now you got the benefit assessment of the whole street. There's a lot of open vacant land, there's 2 houses. And the other thing is you can go all the way up Abbey Road, continuing with it, without a stupid pump station.
That may be
Why
something,
waste the money?
but that wouldn't be $300,000.
To go up Abbey Road, it wouldn't, no. But the potential is there
So
at any time.
the bigger you make the project, the more it's gonna cost.
The problem is with a pump station, it's a never-ending battle. It's just good money after bad,
Okay.
especially when you don't need it.
And the whole subject was to get a generator at the Scout Hall, so I'm sorry, I'm having trouble with all this.
The generator you're selling.
I'm not, but go
They
ahead.
said you had a
Oh,
deposit on them.
I apologize, that one, yes, go ahead.
So how much money would you be getting for that when you sell it?
I don't know that answer, I don't know the number.
But that's not our money.
But it's
so
not
you-
ours.
but you got
But
money.
we bought it,
We as Scout
so
Hall.
we're trying to get,
So you gotta stay away from pronouns.
sorry, you're correct. The Scout Hall Building Committee paid cash for that.
All
Okay?
right, so I'm
We wanna
mixing-
get it out of the barn and recoup our money if it's not gonna
Okay,
do
I'm
us any
mixing
good.
apples and oranges.
I know that, that's fair.
Okay, I
Go ahead.
didn't realize I was doing that. So
It's easy to do in this case.
if this one, just for the pump, is like 22,
Yeah,
you've got the other ones, you could still keep one and to support that Scout Hall, right?
no, neither one of them will support the Scout.
Neither one of them, they're not
No.
big enough.
They're not appropriate, no. No, and Lenny came in with his numbers of whatever it was, 56,000 or something. And that's what he said to do the Scout Hall completely, which is a 100 kW three-phase system.
And would that run the pump station too?
Everything, the whole world.
Do the whole shooting match?
Yes, it would.
And it'd be double this money here.
No,
Yes.
A little more.
You're like about
well,
25.
yeah, roughly.
So it'd be roughly double
Close
the
enough.
money,
When
but
you
you
start
would do
getting
the whole
into-
shooting match.
That's correct. Also, the page 93 of the Plan of Conservation and Development says, under protect the town from natural and other disasters, seek funding to supply all municipal buildings with emergency generators. That's a goal. We got a lot of things going on with this plan of development, our 10-year plan, which it seems like on a day-to-day basis, we ignore.
Yeah.
Which makes it very difficult to make that plan a working plan.
So I have a couple of questions. The first one just popped into my head when you referenced the POCD. So do we know if there are emergency management grants available to help pay for something like this? If is the generator powering Scout Hall and the pump station, or just the pump
I'm
station?
sorry, there is no generator. So you're saying the generator, and there isn't any yet.
The generator you're asking us to purchase.
I'm not asking you to buy anything. I'm telling you, I went to a meeting at the town garage with Public Works, as I was told, and we came to an agreement that the WPCA would rebuild the pump station, the town would supply power, emergency power for the Scout Hall. That was what we walked out the door with. That's what we came here with.
So
It's- whatever's happened since then has happened here.
Well, I don't believe anything has. So the agreement was that WPCA would take ownership of the pump station,
Yep.
repair and maintain it.
Totally.
The town would provide a generator for what purpose?
The entire Scout Hall.
Scout Hall.
Yep.
So how did Scout Hall get into the mix
Yeah,
if this is a
that's-
WPCA issue?
Well, I'll just add one thing.
Because
Correct me
the
if I'm-
power for the pump station comes from Scout Hall. We actually pay the bill. Scout Hall pays the electrical bill. Because it's not very big.
So the this is like a three-way trade now. So the
Oh, yeah.
WPCA will take ownership of the pump station and repair it and maintain the pump station.
Absolutely correct.
The town of East Windsor will purchase and install a power generator to power Scout Hall, which then also will power the pump station.
Correct.
And Scout Hall will pay the electric bills associated with the
We're
generator.
doing, not generator.
No.
The pump station itself, we always have.
Okay.
It's
All right.
powered
So
from
that's the,
our power.
I've got
Yeah.
the part.
I know it's hard, but it's the way it is, yes.
But one little thing though, in that agreement, I believe the WPCA said that those 2 generators you have would be sold to help pay for the generator at the Scout.
But the WPCA doesn't have any generators. Scout Hall has.
Yeah, I'm
The
sure.
Scout Hall Building Committee
Yeah.
offered, if the town wished, to help defray the cost of putting in a generator, they could sell those generators. That's absolutely correct. We did offer that. And so far, here we are. We're nowhere. I don't know. It's all on your table. It's,
How much would you get for the 2 generators?
what does Lenny say? Lenny said, I'm done. Call me if you want me.
Yeah, he did it, go out and get
And he
an
did what he was
estimate,
told to do.
$56,000, and
And me from the WPCA, we did what we were told to do. We brought all the information here. It's your information.
so.
You're gonna do something, you're gonna do it, or not, but the pump station's gonna be rebuilt regardless. Because it's a health and safety issue.
But the 21 or 20, 21, 23 $1,000
Sure.
is just for the pump station. That is a generator just for the pump station.
Exactly correct. And that would be a very lovely piece of equipment right out by the road.
What was the cost of repairing the pump station?
It's not complete yet, but that was estimated around $25,000
So
to start with.
we're either paying for the replacement of the pump station, or the repairs of the pump station, or we're paying roughly the same amount for a generator associated with it. But either way, it looks like we're paying $25,000.
No, it's worse than that, because as soon as the WPCA takes ownership of that pump station, the generator is mandatory. DEP rules, state rules, that's it. A generator will be there. Right now, we don't own it.
WPCA doesn't own it.
WPCA does not own it until we have a memo of understanding between the town and the WPCA that the ownership will be ours because of all the conflicting paperwork and stuff over the years. Nobody can figure out who owns it. So that was what we came out of the meeting with. Let's get this finalized. Let's get a memo of understanding. We'll fix it. You'll provide a generator and we're done. And everybody signs off and goes home happy.
So that 21 will still leave Scout Hall though, with
No power.
no generator.
That is correct.
Okay, but you're selling 2 generators, which you should be able to hopefully use that money
At least towards the replacement.
towards the replacement of a generator.
But it's not the same generator.
There's no
The
replacement.
generator he's selling will run Scout Hall, it just won't run the air conditioner. But you got electrical changes to make.
Okay, so.
But they will run it, and it'll run the pump station too.
So Bob, what do you think?
Well, what I think is that we can think about it some more, but the way I see it is that if the town invests $56,000, then we get a generator that runs the pump station, runs Scout Hall, we can use it as an emergency place, or we can save $35,000, then we wouldn't have a generator in Scout Hall, we wouldn't have any emergency facility, and that would cost us $21,000. So what I'm thinking is, this is a capital improvement, and I'm thinking maybe CIP, and it seems to be pretty important, should be fairly high on the list of CIP projects for the upcoming year.
But
Can you
when
read
is
that
this?
one? Seems like this is a
Yeah.
little more urgent.
Well, if we have a memo of
Not a bit.
understanding and we sign it, you're done. The generator's gotta be there. The end of the story.
Right.
That's the law.
But the problem is, there is no problem until we sign it over to them.
Except
Because
we still, do we
there's
still
three-
own the pump house?
At the moment, you own it.
there's
As
three,
best, well, as best we can figure.
Right.
So we're assuming that's.
there's
the case.
three
Yes.
customers on this. None of the three have a generator, they're all on wells. So when the power goes out, there's no sewage coming into the station, other than a flush of each toilet, which probably amounts to 2.5 gallons apiece, with a wet well that probably holds what, 2,000?
750 gallons.
Well, 750 gallons is a
Max.
lot of water,
Max.
when you don't have any coming in. So the problem is a moot point
Well,
at this
not
point.
exactly. Windsor Show Stables is putting in a generator.
They haven't put it in yet.
No, and we haven't rebuilt the pump station yet, and there's no generator
Well,
there
good.
yet. You can go
Why
on and
don't
on
you make
with
it damn single phase,
But-
plain Jane, simple stuff that you can buy right down to Blake Equipment,
I thought single phase.
because there's no flow.
I thought single phase wouldn't work.
Of course it'll work.
Three-phase.
I put them in all the time in residentials.
I'm sorry. I'm not gonna get into a discussion with somebody who's not in the business.
I'm not
I'm not in the
That's
business.
what I mean.
I'm not, huh?
No,
That's funny. There's a lot of pump stations around and they work fine.
it's good. That's not
For
where I'm
flow is
going.
right about what you're handling.
My
All right.
opinion, doesn't mean much in this town, but whatever. That place should be set up so it can be used for an emergency facility in case something happens here. That should have a generator to run that scout hall and run that pump station. That's my opinion.
So you're on
And if
board?
we- And if we were to vote on the $50,000 one tonight, I'll vote for it.
Well, I
Let's
got a
stop
question.
nickel and dime things.
I got a question for you. Where's the money coming from? It's not in the budget.
CIP's in the budget.
It's
CIP
not even
only
a
has
CIP
$500,000
item yet, Bob. CIP's already been submitted.
We have,
I mean,
We
what do we
can
do?
add
Go
it.
turn the magic faucet on and money comes pouring
Okay,
out?
so what are we gonna do? We own that pump station right now. It's an old one, am I correct?
On borrowed time.
On
Yeah.
borrowed time, good, I'm glad you said it. All right, here we go again, here we go. Here's another South Road deal that we're gonna learn a lesson from. This thing's gonna blow up or fall apart, and we're gonna spend a lot of money, all right? When we could have handed it to these people, and they're responsible for it from here on out, all right? So we're gonna nickel and dime again, we're gonna play games, and we're gonna pay for it in the end.
if we agreed to pay for the 56, when we get the money, and I think we can get it from CIP, could you front us the money? If we have some kind of memo of understanding or something?
I would rather see keeping it separate, and then it's one account, and that's the end of it. It's theirs, see you later, have a nice day. As opposed to mixing the pot, which is exactly what you're doing. It's a three-way mix, and when you get all done, it's still gonna be a three-way mix. Because you got the town of East Windsor, you got the Scout Hall Building Committee, or whoever's in charge of it, and you got the WPCA. If you run that generator off of that Scout Hall, you're still gonna have the same mess. If you separate it, it's done. It's finished, it's yours, have a nice day, goodbye.
The only problem I see there is that for the POCD, we're looking at putting a generator in at all of our facilities.
Might as well start with that one.
Huh?
Good
Might
one.
as well start
What
with
do you mean
Scout Hall.
start?
Because that is a place that we can cook, we can shower, we can sleep, we can eat, you know, all the stuff that you need to do to live.
No, you can't. There's only one shower. Doesn't make
Let's
it
not
a shelter.
It still can.
You've already upgraded the firehouse, which is a town, and you can use it for a shelter. This place has got a brand-new generator in it.
Yep.
You can use it.
Right?
How many do we need?
Where are you gonna, you
No,
can't use that
it's-
kitchen as a, that kitchen's not set up for that.
Firehouse is fine. Many a meal been cooked there.
So to answer your question, I can't speak for the WPCA and whether money could be fronted. I don't know that answer.
Okay.
I mean, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, all right. That's a fair enough answer. That's a good answer.
Okay?
Okay, so, we have the option of paying 56 grand for a generator that powers everything, authorizing 56 grand for a generator that powers everything, and hoping CIP will pay for it. But paying for a generator that will cost about $22,000, and that will just power the pump station. Do we have, those are our three options, right? Everybody agrees that nothing is not an
Oh,
option.
and
What I missed?
Okay.
Or you
So
could fix
said
the,
3 and I
Or
heard
you
2.
fix the pump.
I only heard 2. You could fix the pump station and leave it the way it is.
Yeah, but, well, yes, that I suppose would be an option. Under that
Absolutely.
scenario, though, we would fix the pump station and still own it, which is what we're trying to get away from.
Wait from.
Yeah, I think you want to get out of it.
So we have 4 options. Are there any others?
Not that I know of.
I think anything that pumps crap should be owned by you.
I agree. Thank you. It's near to my
I
heart.
agree completely. But
What's if
it
they
has
don't?
all the shenanigans and appearances of a backdoor way to get a generator for the pump, for the scout hall. And I don't like it. It's being jammed to us like those doors they tried to do, and we just seem to get this all the time. I don't mind going through channels and requesting it and putting it in the budget and doing it, but not the way it's being done. As usual, they come with a gun and try and put it to our head.
I think this is for public safety.
Well, since you brought up the doors, the check was cut and sent to the company that put in the doors, and they sent it back saying the bill was already paid.
Correct.
Which didn't get us reimbursed for the money we paid to them. There you go.
Yep.
So the town cut a check to pay for the
But again,
doors.
you
and then
brought it to us after you did it.
and
You
it
followed no
evaporated.
procedures, and you're back doing the same thing again.
So I move to approve an added appropriation in an amount not to exceed $56,000 for a generator that will power the pump station and the scout hall.
You second?
Go ahead.
If you're interested.
Second it?
Okay. Further discussion?
I think we discussed it about
We
20 meetings.
discussed it plenty.
So under this, rather than amend the motion, under discussion, this needs to be referred to the Board of Finance and then ultimately be referred to a town meeting.
Yes. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes.
Make sure you record my vote that he didn't ask for, which is no. Absolutely ridiculous, foolish.
All right.
That is the cluster of all clusters. That is a mess.
Well, hopefully this
All
will
right.
clean it up.
This will clean it up.
Okay, now we go on to 0 Rye Street. 0 Rye Street.
What's that?
What's that about?
Well,
It's the most important thing I've
in your package, I hope you got this. What's in your package?
Is that what that is?
Do you have this picture in your package?
I have this picture.
Okay, yeah, and
And this picture.
yeah, all right, so we'll start with this picture. Now, if you look at this picture, you see some buildings in the lower right-hand corner.
Yeah.
That's the school.
That's the Broadbrook School. And you can see where the parking lot is for the Broadbrook School, and that property is right next to the parking lot, and so we're talking about property right across the street, and that's why we call it 0 Rye Street. The owner of that, when he heard that we're looking for a parking facility, offered to sell this property to the town. And this property has, actually it has zoning to build a house on that property. It kind of like has a portion that goes out to the right side of the page that would be a driveway to the house in the back. And all the property on the right, the lower part of that parcel could be used for parking, as also, you might notice too, that the town owns some property here beyond the school that could be used for parking. So this is a parcel of land that could be valuable to the town, mainly because it's right across the street from the town hall and next to the school. And the other picture is, just shows you the height of the property. And the school parking lot is, I guess, 230, or I'm sorry, I misspoke, 130 And then you see a 110, and that, the area between 110 and 130 is viable. The 110 is the height of the soccer field. So that could be used by us. A lot of it's wetlands in there that is in this property. I asked him today what he's asking for that. He said he wanted to talk to the real estate, but he has 120,000 in mind. So something to consider. We have some property available to us across the street. I brought it up to this meeting and make you aware of it.
You realize the board was offered this property and they refused it?
That's right. We went round and round.
And they refused it for a lot less money than that.
Well, that's
You could have swapped it for that schoolhouse on Barber Hill for $0, and this board turned it down, and I was not on the board at the time.
Well,
So, you know, why is it coming back now? Because somebody was afraid that Mr. Burnham would make $1 on it. And so they voted it down.
That wasn't.
Now it's back again. You were on the board.
Daddy, why it was voted down?
Well, it was voted down.
Yeah, it was.
It's foolish.
And I said it was ridiculous to buy it because there's so many hills and you can't even walk in there.
I did.
John, Steve, when it was
And
originally
I
offered.
saw the plan that J.R. Russo was gonna do for a parking lot over there, and we weren't gonna gain anything out of it.
Okay, well,
How do you
I
figure
don't
that?
know that.
The retention pond, because to make that parking lot right, now you've gotta go, the way it is now, it's okay. But to make the design, I saw the design, I've got it at home in a folder on that deal.
Good. There you go.
You've got to dig a retention pond, and the retention pond is actually on the school property. It's not even on that property.
Okay.
To expand
I would
that.
like to see
and
that.
you weren't going to gain
I wanna
much
see
more
that.
than like maybe 15 spaces of
Well,
parking.
that, you know,
No,
if
that's
I
for
knew
this-
that, I would not consider, but I actually
I'm going to
did.
bring that in and show
Bring it
to
in,
you.
I want
I
to see
appreciate
that.
it. Yeah,
Because
that's
originally we were offered, the house was, you could have got that too, and there's plenty of damn room there.
Yeah, oh, okay.
Somebody's
So-
infinite wisdom,
John wasn't giving up the house at the time.
he could have.
He wasn't.
No.
Well, I asked him and he said he would.
He wasn't giving up the house, and he wasn't giving up the lot in the back where you could build a
Right,
house
where
too.
you could build on it.
Sure, he
He was
Exactly.
gonna keep that lot.
That's right.
He offered it to you.
Okay. He wasn't
I was
giving it
at the
up. He
meeting.
was giving us up the crap land.
Yeah, okay. Well, we're getting the whole piece now.
Well,
A lot of it's-
you're not
a lot of
getting
it-
that house, the house is not
No,
getting.
something to consider. I'm not advocating this.
Look at it.
I'm
I'm just
bringing a
saying.
plan that was drawn up, I think, by J.R. Russo.
Good.
Yeah.
And you were gaining really no parking over here
Yeah.
whatsoever.
Well,
And there
that
was a
would
lot
make
of
no
money
sense.
that went in, that was gonna be.
It wasn't worth it.
You're looking at from elevation 50 to elevation 130, and, you know, who knows what a distance, there is a scale, well, 1 inch is 133 feet. I think this is accurate.
I mean, that plan, he should have thrown that in here so we could have seen how it would have.
Well, I didn't know that. I didn't know.
And about- and about
There were the plans on it.
Right, and about 1,000 feet, you got 60 feet of elevation change.
Oh, there's a big cliff.
There's a cliff down in there.
It's a cliff.
Yes,
My
cliff.
comment to the paper back then, you couldn't get a billy goat to walk down through there.
You could, they would have fallen.
Well,
It fell over sideways or something, you know?
But you know, it does flatten out when you get down around elevation 50. You
Well,
need a
fif-
wetlands map to go with
No,
it.
you can't use anything down elevation 50. Like I was saying, the only usable land I see is between 110 and 130.
Even that. That's 20 feet of elevation change.
That is. Dale?
I'd love for Steve to bring those maps in for the next, our next meeting.
I'll bring them in.
And if we could move on to discussion of town attorney, that would be wonderful. I think we
Okay.
moved that one up pretty good.
Yep. Okay. Thank you, Dale.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, I would, I put this on the agenda. I'd like to move that the Board of Selectmen authorize the first selectman to solicit bids for a new town attorney. And I could have a second for discussion.
Second.
So you can't make a motion.
Yeah.
If you're gonna move it, you need to pass the chair. And then Pippin becomes the chair of the meeting, and then you're able to vote.
Yeah, I'll read this that I have. Because I disagree.
Let him make it. You're right, you're not supposed to.
Well, no, Robert's rule says that the chair of a meeting is just as much a member of the meeting as anybody else. And you're right, if I advocate for something, I have to leave the chair. But I'm making the motion, it says here, can a president make a motion or second a motion? Answer, it depends. In a board meeting of fewer than 12 members, a president can make a motion, second motions, discuss motions, and vote on motions.
Okay,
So,
whatever. I'm not gonna get into it.
So anyway.
I don't know why it's under new business. This should be old business. You bring it up every meeting.
Not every meeting.
Damn close.
Okay. Okay. All right. There are two reasons I want to bring it up at this time. One reason is it's good business practice to change the town attorney periodically. And two, the town attorney is costing a great deal of money. And I'd like to talk a little bit about those two points, and then I'd like to open it up for discussion. Let me see. First, I say that the town attorney should be changed periodically, and basically, just like auditors, town attorneys should be changed. It's a good business practice to change them every 4 or 5 years. Auditors and town attorneys are human beings. Sometimes they collude with others for their own benefit. It's detrimental to institutions that hire them. Changing auditors and attorneys periodically, one prevents collusion from happening. Changing auditors and attorneys periodically is just good business practice. Our attorney has been in office 5 years and has done work for the town for 18 years. It is time to a change for no other reason than to remove any question of indiscretion. When I came into office, the new town attorney, I asked for a new town attorney. 3 Board of Selectmen members wanted to retain the current town attorney, and one reason put forth at that time was I was new in the job and needed, a town attorney was needed that was familiar with East Windsor to help me. Well, now I have experience in the job, and I really, that reason is no longer valid. So I'm ready for a new town attorney. And I just want to note that I'm sure there are many town attorneys in the state of Connecticut who could serve as town attorneys as well as our current town attorney. And I'm urging the Board of Selectmen at this time to authorize me to begin soliciting a bid for a different town attorney. That's one thing. You need to change the town attorneys periodically. And the second one is probably more relevant and more important. Right now, this year, we are currently over budget on the legal bills.
Last year.
Yes. The last fiscal year, which was a week ago, we so far have spent let me say the last month, we haven't received the last month of bills from Pullman and Connolly, so that, not including the last months of bills, we've spent $286,479.92. The budget for last year was $240,000. And a conservative estimate, if we add in the month that we haven't even gotten the invoices for it, We're going to spend over $312,000 on legal costs last year. We're $72,000 overspent on legal costs. If we reduced the legal costs by just 10%, that would save us $30,000 a year. And that $30,000 would pay for the Broadbrook Library, the Youth Center, and there's many other areas in town that would benefit from $30,000. I believe we can save more than $30,000 a year on legal expenses. And there are 4 things that I would like to do to reduce legal costs. First thing is hire a new and different town attorney that has a lower hourly rate. Second, the town needs to manage its own legal affairs. There are approximately 13 attorneys in Pullman and Connolly that do work for us. They work on assessment appeals and land use, bond use, foreclosures, tax collections, labor matters, just to mention a few. Our current attorney reviews everything the other attorneys do and charges us for reviewing those and interacting with the other attorneys. We are paying the town attorney $300 an hour to be a middleman in a sense. If we had a new town attorney, I could and should review what each attorney is doing, and that we don't need a town attorney to do that. This would save the town thousands of dollars, probably more. That's the second thing we should do. The third thing we should do, the town needs to better oversight of legal billing and accountability. One problem is we receive monthly legal bills at least 2 weeks after the close of the month. Often legal costs described in the invoices occur 5 or more weeks prior to the billing. For example, the town received invoices for services rendered through March 31st on May 1st. So in that case, if something had occurred on March 1st, the town does not know what occurred or how much it cost for 8 weeks. We should get control of our legal costs, and in getting control of those legal costs, initially I think we should insist on bills every week. And with the arrangement in our current attorney, it kind of prohibits that. And finally, before any legal expenditure, we should do a cost analysis of the legal actions to see what we think it's worth. We should not pursue legal action if we don't think it's worth the cost. And thus, we should have estimated the cost of every legal action before it begins, and we should revisit each legal action as it progresses and determine the percent complete and the estimated cost to remaining. So that's the 2 reasons I am asking the board to allow me to pursue and solicit bids for a new town attorney. I'm through, so I open it's up to discussion.
One thing, you cite a lot of these zoning and other issues. How much of that is actually reimbursable out of this?
None.
Oh, I don't believe that for a minute. The foreclosures are certainly reimbursable.
I'll
At the time they foreclose. When the time the action is finished, they're reimbursable. A lot of this action is reimbursable, but it just doesn't happen immediately.
So there's...
Okay. Can I respond to him, or do you want?
No, go ahead.
Just last week, we had a foreclosure sale in this room, and Adam Cohen was responsible for it. We brought in $90,000 to the town. Patty did that. Do you know how much Adam's legal expenses were for bringing in $90,000? Nothing. Because when you have a foreclosure, the attorney's legal fees come out of the foreclosure sale before any money goes anywhere else. The lawyer gets paid first from the money of the foreclosure sale. So the town got $90,000, the lawyer got all his expenses. So those costs I put before you are just our legal costs.
Not really, though. So you quoted a $286,000 number for legal expenses incurred last year. Of that, we spent $115,375 on the casino.
That was taken out. That doesn't include.
Which is reimbursable.
But that $286,000 of legal expenses did not include the legal expenses. I should have said that at the beginning. That money and the fees for the lobbyists were not included in that $286,000 that is currently put toward legal expenses. They're not reimbursable. Those $286,000 are not reimbursable. They're not part of the casino. They're not part of the lobbyists. That's money.
So, I'm not sure you understand how the reimbursements work, though. When a reimbursement comes in, the expenditure doesn't go away. It still shows up as an expenditure.
I took them out. They're taken out. If I included those expenditures, the expenditures would go up over $400,000.
I don't believe that that's accurate.
All right, we don't have a problem. That's just a matter of numbers, and I'm giving you the information that our town treasurer and I worked on. I know that's correct. I've seen the detail, and I can show you the detail. That's not a problem. I'll bring the detail next meeting. Not a problem. I can show you every payment that's been occurred in the prior fiscal year, which was ended last week. Not a problem. Dale.
Have you talked to Pullman and Conley about the billing issues? I mean, you're talking that you're getting billed so late. Have you addressed that billing issue with them?
I have a hard time addressing anything with Josh Hawk's lad, but that's another problem.
But I'm not saying you have to address it with him.
Oh, yes, you do. My God, he set up a legal subcommittee because of...
No, we did. He didn't, we did.
He wrote it.
I didn't.
Okay, so, I mean, Josh Hawk's lad is not going to work with me. Yeah.
We know.
Okay, like you said, Bob, you took out all this other stuff that you got the money back, and you figure it's gonna be over 300 grand with this guy. Since I've been sitting here, he's had 2 increases, and the last one was 3.2% increase.
Where did you get them?
That's not a true statement.
Like, I wrote it right down here. Don't, Jason, don't sit there and say everything's not true.
Steve, since we got elected, his rate has been the same dollar amount.
He just went up 3.2% increase.
So the way that works is that's something that's sent to all of their clients at the beginning of the year. Our rate did not increase. We were paying $295, we are still paying $295.
Okay, I do have the 2 emails he's talking about.
Yeah, but those are form letters that go to all of their clients. Look at a bill. Look at a bill from 3 years ago, look at a bill from today. Right. They are the same $295 per hour rate, with the exception of paralegal costs.
So here's the form letter. I'll read it, and I can see why it's confusing, misleading. So it says, to our clients, the firm periodically reviews the billing rates for our professionals and increases our rates based upon charges in the seniority of our attorneys providing services for general increases in cost of conducting business. Under the rules of professional conduct, we must advise you of these changes. Effective January 1st, 2017, the billing rates for work performed by our professionals will increase by an average of 3.2%.
And did that happen?
That I don't know, and it's worth verifying. So in other words, they're saying some are increased more, some increase less, than ours is less. because we didn't increase at all. Okay,
That's right, we did not have a rate increase.
all right. So I can see why Stephen and myself was confused, because I stand corrected, but I do have,
All
actually,
I know is
I
what
have
they said.
I have the figures here. It's just, well, labor relations, and I can give you these. This is the all of the labor relations. I'm speaking of. No. So these are just the last pages. That's where I took the final figures from.
So now, back to my thing here. Okay, so I'm going by what was said in that memo to us, okay? I actually didn't look at to see what the bill was, to see if it went up, because I wouldn't know, because I don't see him every time. But he is a contractor to us, right? He's like a contractor. Am I correct in saying that?
Well, I don't know. I think Mike.
He's what?
He's an appointed officer.
The attorney's an appointed officer.
Yep.
But we do have a contract with him too.
We have it's called an engagement letter. We have an engagement letter.
Okay.
So, doesn't the charter have something to say about if it's over a certain amount of money that you're paying a person like this to do like hourly work for you? Doesn't it have to go out to bid?
No.
Nope.
Okay, so then this guy's gonna keep doing whatever he wants to do because he knows he's got 3 people on this board that's gonna back him up. Do whatever he wants to do.
That's an incorrect statement.
Well,
because
not
he's
in
still
my
being-
eyes it isn't,
he's still
because
being
every
held
time we
accountable.
vote on it, there's 3 that vote for the guy, 2 vote against the guy. And if you wanna tell me $26,000, and this is what gets me, it ain't because of me, that ethics thing. He took $26,000 when there was nothing legal going on there, nothing, you know what I mean? It was a public people on that committee at that ethics hearing, but yet he sat there, he helped the people who filed it against me with paper this thick and charged the town $26,000. And the former leadership approved of it. He had no right to sit there and take that money, but he did anyway. All right, and that's what really gets me. This is what gets me, that he did that. He shouldn't have done that.
Steve, that was a workplace alleged harassment violation, and we certainly had to do this.
There was nothing there illegal.
It was alleged, I said, Steve.
You can allege anything you want against anybody.
And anybody that saw
Okay.
it knows the truth.
Anything you want to allege, I can allege things against you
You
too.
always do.
But the thing of it is, he took the money, and everybody knows the most that anything could have happened, whether it was me or anybody else, would get a slap on the palm, and that was the end of it. And it cost the town taxpayers $26,000 for a joke.
I guess Dale's gone to
So there we go, that's all I gotta say.
But it certainly saved us from having to go to court for an unfair labor practices, which we were well on the way to.
Good.
Probably would have cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, well, we would have found out, wouldn't we?
Yeah, we certainly would have.
Think I'm afraid of courts?
Okay, let's,
That's not,
I would
go
take a
Let's
vote.
move
but,
on, please.
Let's wait for Dale.
no, wait for
Go
it.
ahead, we got a comment from over here, obviously. Go ahead, talk.
I don't have a comment. I'm done. I did
You're
already.
You're done.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm
Good,
well sure how I'm going to vote.
good. Okay, let's go.
We can't. Dale isn't here. This is a board of 5 people.
Most of the time.
she's washing her hands. Flying.
We really shouldn't be doing the play-by-play on that.
No.
I mean, here's the
Let's get that or jet engine, I'm not sure. Well, let me say that we were talking about the Historical Society before. I believe they're having a tag sale Saturday, this Saturday meeting.
No.
Or was it last?
They're having one, yeah.
No, I think it's
The townwide tag sale is this weekend, and then the Boy Scout tag sale is the 29th, I think. There's 2 different tag sales that are going on this month. I just don't remember which is which.
All right, well, I thought a historical one was going on.
There is one historical, I just don't know which day that is.
Okay. All right, so if there's no more discussion, let me see what my motion was. The motion on the floor is for the Board of Selectmen to authorize the first selectman to solicit bids for a new town attorney. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
No.
All right. Thank you much.
So along those lines, and so we can stop having the same conversation forever. Last time we met, we talked about an actual modest increase for Pullman and Connolly from $295 to $315. So I asked that Josh draft an engagement letter for the town of East Windsor, which does 3 things. 1, it sets out a standard 3-year contract, which is important to you guys. 2, it establishes the terms of service, the rate of pay, severability, and obligations of the firm and of the town. And 3, it extends the long relationship we have with Pullman and Connolly, including their institutional knowledge and knowledge of what has happened in the town, which I think is particularly important as we continue to move forward with the casino and as we continue to move forward with nearly a dozen negotiations simultaneously. And as we work through several complex litigation matters that have been with us for a long time. So I'm going to offer up this engagement letter, and I will give you folks a moment to look it over.
First of all, it's addressed to Messrs. Pippin and Bauza.
Yeah. I asked them to draft it.
Thank you once again for the Board of Selectmen deciding to continue to retain me as the Town of East Windsor's counsel in accordance with town charter.
Yes.
Who's the you?
I'm sorry?
It says thank you once again for the Board of Selectmen deciding.
So it's a thank you in anticipation of ratification.
Oh.
If we reject it, obviously he's not going to thank us for it.
But it's addressed to you and Dick,
Mm-hmm.
and he's not addressing the letter to me. But is he addressing he must be addressing the Board of Selectmen.
He's addressing it to us. This is just a standard service contract. His responsibilities, our responsibilities, rate of pay, term of service.
I'm not prepared to vote at this time.
So I'm going to make a motion, and you're welcome, I suppose you're going to vote against it, because I guess you vote. But I move to approve the engagement letter between the Town of East Windsor and Pullman and Connolly dated June 27, 2017, as presented, and to authorize the first selectman or the deputy first selectman to sign said agreement not later than prior to the next regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen.
You know, what's going on here is nothing more than a mutiny. You know that.
I'll second that motion.
This puts to bed this question, so we don't have to talk about it
Anymore.
every 2 weeks.
Done.
There's too many complex legal issues right now that we're in the middle of, to be changing canoes in the middle of the stream. It's a lot of money, unfortunately. But I don't think anybody else is gonna be a heck of a lot
I-
cheaper.
So along that lines, we made a request to the Board of Finance for our legal funding, for general legal representation and for labor negotiations, and the Board of Finance saw fit to increase our request. So there's actually more budgeted than what we asked for, and that was unsolicited, actually.
What about this legal affairs subcommittee?
The engagement letter doesn't reference that. That's a decision for the Board of Selectmen, not for the engagement letter.
I think that legal affairs subcommittee is not a good thing.
Well, we could talk about that as a board, but that's a separate issue apart from this.
Right.
I don't disagree, by the way.
I don't
Okay.
either. I'd be very happy for you to handle it.
To dissolve it.
Well, there's a motion on the floor. We gotta take care of that first.
After this, I want to talk about the other.
It's not an agenda item.
Yeah, that's right. Next meeting.
And we'll make it a damn good agenda item next meeting.
That's fine. He gets paid to do it, Steve. We don't.
So, on the question then,
He called the question.
so I'm in favor.
I'm in favor.
And I'm in favor.
Favor of what?
The motion is presented.
Question.
I'll reread it if you'd like. So I move to approve the engagement letter between the town of East Windsor and Pullman and Conley dated June 27th, 2017 as presented, and to authorize the first selectman or the deputy first selectman to sign said agreement not later than prior to the next regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen. Moved by Bowser, seconded by Nelson.
You have a copy of it, right?
You got mine.
So I guess we got 3 yeas and you got 1 nay.
I think I have the right to remain silent, and I choose to do that.
You do obey if you wish, Bob. Nobody's gonna get mad at you. You just finished saying you got the right to vote and make motions and everything else.
I do.
Have at it.
So do you want to do the tax refunds or do you want to do the state budget?
Well, I don't care.
I'll make a motion to approve the tax refunds in the amount of $3,348.51 dated 6/30/2017.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Anyone talk about the budget?
Yeah, so, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, but I am concerned with the absence of a state budget. And I think there's 168 other towns that are probably feeling the same way. Without the legislature acting on a budget, even a mini budget, what they're calling a mini budget, which is a stopgap between approvals of the biennial budget. Under current law, what the state is functioning on currently, it equates to an additional revenue loss to the town of somewhere between $1.5 and $2 million. We need to have a plan for how we're going to mitigate that, assuming that that becomes a real and permanent number. That is a chunk of our budget.
Okay. We're going to have a discussion.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have a solution. I'm posing a problem.
Okay, and I have some information. And first, we raised taxes, $1.5 million in anticipation of the state reducing our cost sharing by that much money. So that's why our taxes were raised 5.61%.
What I'm saying is I think it's I think we didn't do it enough. I think the whole.
Well, I hear what
twice
you're
that.
saying, what I'm saying is that we already can, and I'm not saying we have a solution, but I'm saying that we can already withstand a $1.5 million reduction in revenue. And that's a good thing. We budget, what we didn't budget for is the payment of pension to the teachers, the part of the teacher's pension, which it would amount to $1 million. That's not, hasn't been taken into account. So that's one thing. Another thing is we are collecting taxes now. And so we're going to be cash rich in a sense for a while.
We have some time.
Yes.
We don't have all the time, but we have some time.
So, in your email to me, to add this to the agenda, you said, what is the impact of the absence of a state budget? And obviously, the main impact is uncertainty. We don't know what's going on now. But with a little bit of time, maybe we'll have a better understanding of what we're dealing with. So, times, in a sense, in the collection of revenue is on our side a little bit. A couple of things that we can take into account and probably should do. It maybe it'd be wise to hold off on some spending. And the thing that comes to mind is capital improvements. And we haven't even started. And we're not going to do that till August, but maybe we'll delay that a little further depending on what we know then. Another thing is we have a very healthy fund balance, and we could probably take $1.5 million from that.
Do you know what the funding percentage is there?
Yeah, these are approximate because you can't. I probably was conservative. I think we have a funding percentage of 20% on our fund balance. And if we broke it down, knocked it down to 15%, which is not bad, we could take $1.8 million, I think, from our fund balance. So that's another option we have. Again, we can wait and see what's going on. And if things really got bad, and I don't think they can get, I think we can cover it, then indeed the Board of Finance could determine, we could go to them and they determine a supplemental billing, and in our January billing, we could send out, and we could change the actual budget or the mill rate, or the taxes we collect. So we've got some options.
So that's good. I think that we would be well advised to be thinking about that and maybe engaging the Board of Finance in that as early as possible, because as you get further into the fiscal year, one of your two options, which is curtail spending, doesn't have the same effect as it does at the outset of the fiscal year, because there's simply less money to save.
I agree with you.
So I'm raising it as a notion now, but so I looked at our approved budget from the last fiscal year in terms of state revenue. We got roughly $6.3 million. We budgeted for 4.7 million. So that's your $1.5 million hit right there. However, in the Connecticut Resource Allocation Plan, which is what the state is currently operating under, we're going to get 2.9, which is, that's a lot less.
Okay. Let's see now.
So that's another roughly $1.8 million.
Okay, so
they need to pass a budget. The long and short of it is the legislature needs to pass a budget, which will at least remove, Bob, your point about uncertainty being the biggest strike. Take uncertainty off the table and just tell us what the number is.
Oh, definitely.
So that we can have some way of planning in a responsible way instead of ready, shoot, aim, which is what's happening with the legislature.
You know, I think we need to be proactive, and we maybe need to, right now, jump on the spending right now, with a point we can always loosen the reins when we get a number that's hard and fast. But to let people go out and they've been waiting for the new budget to spend, we need to put a lid on it and hard until the legislature acts. I think the longer we wait, the worse we're gonna be. We may end up everybody having to take a furlough days. Some towns are doing this. We may have to close Fridays, shorten the work week. We've got to be prepared. Because if we take this whole $1.8 million, if that projected shortfall falls out of fund balance, what are we gonna do next year? It's a biennial budget.
That's a problem.
So you gotta look at 2 years down the road, not just one. That's another reason I didn't wanna buy the generator, right now. And I don't think well, the Board of Finance will have to handle that now. But we really, I mean, seriously, need to nip this in the bud. In any labor negotiations, we need to make that very apparent right up front. You know what? People could be lucky if we don't have to. We may have to let some people go, depending on how bad this thing gets. With the inaction going on in Hartford, the trickle-down effect, and you know what? We're at the bottom of the barrel. Because the taxpayers certainly don't want to pay any more money, they want to pay less. I would think.
With the teachers' pensions, that 1/3 that they might make the towns pay, right?
That doesn't seem to be on the table anymore.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I think that's off this year.
Yeah, and,
Okay, so it's off the table, but I'm talking here.
Yeah.
I just got, want to put something out there.
good. Now,
Say if they
Jay-
did make us pay that, say, what if they did? The 1/3, and the state's always paid that, the towns have never paid that. What if the towns refuse to pay it?
well, I know.
What could the state possibly do then? What if the towns actually said, we're not paying this?
Well,
They would reduce your state aid for education by that amount.
Right.
yeah.
You're gonna pay for it one way or another.
Just looking at the budget here, Jason, you tell me now, like you were saying, last year, when the educational cost sharing was there, we got 5.5 approximately, $5.5 million.
Yep.
This year, we plan on getting $2.37 million. And well, and also, but there's also a special ed grant there for $1,953,000.
So here's the good news and the bad news about that. The good news is we budgeted in ECS to get 2.3 million more. The good news part of that is that under the current budget structure, the resource allocation plan, we're going to get 2.55 million more. So we're actually to the right side of it.
200,000.
The bad news?
Yes.
That 1.9 million?
Gone.
Gone.
Okay. All right. That's bad news.
Yeah, well, you know, glass half full, glass half empty. You gotta give me some of both.
Right, yeah.
Yes, okay.
I don't know if we can, since we're discussing them, I don't know if we should make this a resolution. That we need to, or issue a directive to all departments that are under our purview, which leaves the Board of Education to do what they will, that really we don't want to see anything that's absolute necessary spending until such time as we have a budget.
The first thing that ought to be done is the Board of Finance should be consulted about it.
Well, yeah, then we
okay,
should.
That's fine.
And that's next week? Next week, the week that
I'm not
next
sure, third Wednesday, third Thursday, Wednesday.
We definitely should send a communication to them.
Why can't we do like the other towns are doing, pay freezes?
You got a motion?
Pay freezes, we can't, but we certainly, and I'll put out an email saying to cut back on spending, and we're gonna look at any spending that's gonna
Only
occur.
necessities at this point.
You could go ahead and say something along the line, and maybe just as a gentle step in that direction without us taking a hard and fast stance that is difficult to undo. You could take the position that you want to pre-approve any discretionary spending that's not contractual.
Okay.
You know, that is a good first step to show that we're paying attention to it. It also recognizes that we can't do anything about contractual obligations, but there, as I recall the budget, there is a fair amount of things in there that are certainly non-contractual.
Right. Well,
So if you could put that out saying you want to review each of them on a case by case.
But we could send up referral days and that is legal within the
Negotiable too. Yeah, negotiated.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think
That would
until
take-
we have
I
more
don't want to go
clarity.
there.
I don't want to like, cry wolf here.
No,
I'm
I
just
don't
letting you
either.
know that there is, the longer they don't act, the bigger of a problem this is for us.
I agree with you. Yeah. Okay.
So that's the, I could tell a joke now or something, we'll kind of lighten the mood, but that's what I got.
See what, maybe we'll see what else we got here.
You have jokes?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay, just checking.
But
Timing
now,
perfect.
that's what I was thinking. Now we can go and listen to our reports. Dick, you're up first.
Oh, gee. Well, the first thing I got to report is they fixed the wonderful bumps on Newberry Road today, and Steve was there supervising. As soon as he left, I showed up. So those bumps are gone finally, and they fixed them all.
I was actually buying topsoil from the guy.
I don't care. Doesn't matter. You didn't run him over. He was out there flagging. Anyway, it's a good thing. One of them was getting kind of poor, getting pretty rough, especially when you drive a cab over a truck, believe me. The next good thing, town's going to be chip sealing some roads. I think you're going to be putting an email out on it, but I'm going to read it anyway. Graham Road, Morris Road, Apothecaries Hall, Thrall East, Chamberlain, and Kreisig Roads. The work is to start on or about Monday, July 17th. So I'm sure Apothecary Hall people are going to be complaining about the dust, and it won't be Charbonneau's for a change. It'll be ours. Takes care of that one. Went to the Inland Wetlands Watercourse Agency. Andy Grozniak for property on 10 Harrington Road. They approved a 2-lot, or it actually ends up a total of 3-lot subdivision. That's in the tobacco fields up there, used to be Kaloji's. He's going to get a couple of house lots, and the rest of it's going to remain a farm. That went through. They appointed Laurie Witten as the acting wetlands agent until the position is filled. And other than that, there's really nothing life-threatening. You got planning and zoning, Jason?
I do.
Okay, then I'll drop that one. And East Windsor Permanent Building Commission. We had no quorum, so we could only discuss, unfortunately, and Paul was there. The last week, which this was the 26th, so it should have been the week before, they made a decision on the bad floor. They're going to have to do 2 of the hallways completely because they couldn't get a tile match that was acceptable. Talked about the punch list for all the various issues with your additions over there that haven't been done, and it was a discussion on the plantings that will be rectified. The middle school roof, they did a scope review. Imperial was a low bidder, was supposed to start July 5th, which I haven't been up there to see if they did. The tar part of the roof, the hot and all that, will be done before school starts. The rest of it will be finished by October 2nd, completely. A Scout Hall generator was discussed, but we couldn't do it, and it came here, and that was it. And the Alliance grant for the Barbrook window project was to be on a Wednesday, the next Wednesday after the 26th, and Tom must have been there. I don't have anything more on that, but we'll hear at the next meeting. That's it.
Hey, Steve.
Not much. Zoning Board of Appeals didn't have a meeting because they didn't have any applications.
All right.
That's it.
Jason.
Get easy.
On Thursday, June 22nd, there was a meeting with representatives from the Board of Selectmen, Planning and Zoning Commission, the Chamber of Commerce, and the Connecticut Department of Transportation to discuss the impact of the rail line upgrades that are proposed for Windsor Locks. What opportunities exist for Warehouse Point because of that development across the river. That was another example of PZC and, well, really all the parties involved putting on a really, really valuable and inclusive opportunity to kind of brainstorm what could be coming our way. I thought that was the creativity that was in the room, the willingness of people to throw thoughts out there and actually come up with things that would make that village really something remarkable was very encouraging. That was well worth attending.
Yeah, well, okay.
Yeah.
How that came about, from my perspective is Windsor Locks and the people who are developing Montgomery Mills, and also the people who are developing the rail station and talking about the roundabout, they realize they have to start including us, and they're the ones that the state really got the people who came in to help us and work with us. They did a study, a partial study of Warehouse Point, and came, just like you said, asked us questions and put out good ideas. And so all I'm saying is Windsor Locks and their development is spurning consideration of Warehouse Point, and we're within the radius they call it transportation development oriented area. If you're within a half a mile, then you have to be included, and the rail station is the transit. So it was very good. I agree with you.
It was exciting for the first time in a long time.
Very good.
That same night, the Agriculture Commission met. They actually had some interesting things on their agenda. I popped in there only for a few minutes, but they're talking about recommending to us something I hope we'll consider, passing a tax abatement ordinance for agricultural buildings. There are a number of towns in the state of Connecticut that have done this. Ellington's done it, East Canaan's done it, I think Somers has done it. And it's a good way of showing support for the agricultural community and also encouraging investment or reinvestment in their infrastructure as it ages. So hopefully they'll be recommending that to us, and I hope we'll favorably consider it. It's probably no secret by now that the farmers market was canceled for the season at the very 11th hour, which was too bad. But I understand that the dynamics there are what they are. I also understand that the town may be working on opportunities to jumpstart it, to get it going again. I'm not sure if that would happen for this season necessarily or for next year, but I was contacted professionally by Melissa Maltesi asking questions about what would be required, and I was very encouraged to see her stepping up to fill that need. And they continue the farming community continues to have a need for water at the community garden. They're working with the dog park people as well to qualify for grant funding. They're currently about $3,500 short of their goal. But if the project were to go in, they would have water available for the community gardens and the dog park, which would check 2 boxes. Last Tuesday, the Planning and Zoning Commission met, and the major topic while I was there, I had to leave early, but the major topic while I was there was about Apothecaries Hall Enterprises, owned by Mr. Charbonneau, who approached the commission about expanding his gravel operation to a new phase with expanded truck trips and hours as well. I think everybody who lives around it was there and was not happy about the possibility of expanded hours and a new phase. And they also segued into the ongoing issue of ATV ridership, which obviously continues to be a pretty serious problem in that area.
I agree.
Tomorrow there will be an informational forum with the Pension and Investment Committee's proposal for changes to the town pension plan. We'll be presenting it for the second time and entertaining any questions that interested parties have tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. right here. That's all I have.
Okay, Dale.
June 22nd, I also attended that meeting here. We were here 2 hours, and I'll tell you, the time just flew by so fast. And the only other thing I attended was this morning, I was at a labor negotiation meeting. That's it. Nothing. Very quiet.
And I have nothing to report. I attended a lot that was already mentioned. Okay, now the excitement of public participation. Scott.
Scott Morgan, 106 South Main Street. Just wanted to mention that Wednesday, July 19th from 6:30 to 8:30, there's going to be a concert for veterans hosted by the Connecticut Trolley Museum, East Windsor Park and Rec, and sponsored by Windsor Federal, featuring the Stray Dogs and the special guests. Veterans Commission and veterans will be selling refreshments. And then August 20th at the American Legion, they're going to hold a pig roast, $20 all you can eat from 12 to 3. Baked potato, corn on the cob, coleslaw, baked beans, and watermelon.
I didn't catch the date, what was that?
August 20th.
Okay. Jim?
Jim Richards, 27 Pleasant Street. I don't know what we can do, but one of our businesses achieved another milestone in town. Usually it's Geisler's, they've been the ones coming up lately, but Southern Auto Auction is 70 years old this year, and I'm hoping the town will do some kind of proclamation for them. Thank you.
Didn't we do a street sign for them?
Yep. That was at 65, I believe.
Yeah.
Yep. Snuck that in. At least you do a congratulatory proclamation, maybe put it on the next agenda,
Okay.
unless you guys come up with something good.
I mean, he does a lot. It'd be
does.
nice to do a nice plaque.
A congratulation, yeah, we could, whatever. Right? We do have that discretionary some money.
I don't think we do anymore.
The wards,
I think it's gone.
Yeah, that's
the
true.
wards disappeared.
Pretty sure that got swept.
Should have brought it up last meeting before the fiscal year changed.
Okay. Jim?
Jim Barton, 158 South Water Street. Just wanted to update you on the Veterans Memorial Green Project. We are very close to our goal, and we're going to be doing construction in late September. And so we just talked about this tonight. We're going to have some kind of a groundbreaking ceremony around that time, so I can't know exactly when it's going to be. It might be a late notice kind of thing, but obviously we're going to invite the board and some other folks and have a little groundbreaking. The monuments are supposed to be in mid-September, so we're going to be looking at digging holes and doing foundations and things right at that time.
How close to your goal are you? 4 digits, 5 digits? 3 digits?
What does that mean, 4 digits?
I think he's like
How close are you to the goal?
5,000.
We have about 50,000.
And you're trying to hit 60?
Yeah.
That is tremendous.
Pretty darn.
Congratulations on getting that far. That is awesome.
Thank you. So that's our plan. The plans have changed a little bit, and I'm getting more information about electrical costs and things. So Jay and I are going to be going back to planning and zoning and to you guys at some point here with that information. We've added another monument in recognition of POW MIA. It's going to be a separate granite piece and a separate flagpole for that flag, and some more pavers to connect this patio kind of thing to the diagonal sidewalk on the green. So so we're redesigning that a little bit. And next spring, before Memorial Day, hopefully we're just going to have cleanup stuff, and we're going to have nice grass there and everything else. And we really hope to do a big deal for a dedication. Not sure when, but we want to do a nice event, nice program. And so those are our plans.
Good, thank you.
Great.
Further? Yes.
I have a couple comments. South Road, would we have to do something for a zoning change? Because I can't believe that we can have a subdivision with those small lots. I don't believe we allow that small lots in town, do we?
You need a variance.
Or variance or an ordinance?
No, variance.
Variance. Each one would have to come in front of the board for variance?
Yes.
I don't know for certain if each one would have to come, or if it could be granted in block. I don't know.
Just making a comment.
A variance would be required.
Well, the variance would have to be requested by the town in this particular case, because we're the property owners.
Unclear on the timeline, but there will be a variance of some sort that would be required
Yes.
to move forward.
And you'd also, somehow we'd have to adopt the road as is, basically, as a town road, which could be done, because it is a town road, technically we own it.
Right.
We plow it every winter.
Well, we plowed it for years for public safety, and I guess they've done a little bit of repair here and there as needed. That would be the other thing, it would have to make separate lots, otherwise it'd just be a disaster trying to make it a right away. You'd have another Pond Street on your hands, which we don't want to create. But that's the only way you could do it. If the survey work and everything has already been done, and all the plots and that are there, it may not be, it's still going to cost you. You're going to have individual deeds drawn up after you go through your individual variances. But it's not that easy, but it can be done.
I'd like to just tell everybody the duck race and the cardboard canoe race is on for Sunday. And the duck race goes off at 1, the cardboard canoe race goes off at 2. And is there any other question or comment I have? Is $56,000 for the generator for Scout Hall. I mean, I'm sure we can get a smaller generator and knock out something, take out the air conditioning out of the building. That can be dropped out of that system fairly easy, I believe. I mean, so you don't need 100 kW, you can probably get away with a smaller generator. I mean, that's just a lot of money in a tight budget that we don't have.
True, air conditioning, that is the big electricity.
It's a big
hog.
electricity problem.
It's a killer.
So that's something to consider.
I mean, we do it in our facilities.
Yeah. And
Right.
We drop out the AC.
You're going for the deluxe plan,
Yeah.
or you could go with a good functional plan.
Good point. Yeah.
That's all.
Another Joe's got his hand up.
Joe.
You ain't expect to go out here and wait tonight.
Oh, I'm glad. Why not? I'd be disappointed in that.
Joe Malenfant, 4 South Road. One thing I noticed I'd like to get straightened out, first of all, from the last meeting, is in the minutes online, if I can give the correct spelling of my last name.
Yes.
Malenfant.
Melonfort?
Malenfant.
Melonfant.
Okay, some of the things that were discussed here, and obviously has to do with South Road. It was mentioned that your lawyer or your paperwork there said creative housing. I can see one of the reasons it is, because even though the town took over the land, owns the land, everything we have still says creative housing. The land lease, it was never changed to anything else, it says creative housing. Speaking of the town taking over the land, during a title search, I almost ran into a big problem. Title search made it up to the foreclosure and stopped. Did the town never record that it owns the land on town records?
Good question.
Okay, as far as where this land lease, I mean, I'm sure that, you know, they have other things that kind of try and bind it, but as far as I know, from what I've seen throughout the years, or it was actually in the early years I found this, and was that the houses were actually sold by the Army to creative housing. There was federal and state money involved, I do know that. But as far as I'm concerned, when something's sold to somebody, whether it be creative housing, whatever, it's sold to them. So creative housing turned around, did some repairs on houses and sold them to us people. Creative housing, or the Army also quit claimed the land to creative housing. quit claim, as far as I'm concerned, here, it's yours, do what you want with it. So I still don't understand where all these restrictions, the land lease and this and that, besides the fact of the part that Bob keeps reading that says we have first right to purchase the land. Why are these restrictions if it would say that in that land lease? Another thing, and I'm going from memory on this out of the land lease, whereas you're talking about it has to remain low to moderate income. But yet, if a bank forecloses on one of the houses, all the restrictions are gone as far as for the bank.
No, not if it's on the deed.
You read the land lease. Like I said, I'm going
No, you
from
gotta read the
memory.
deed, Joe.
Huh?
The deed is what counts. The restrictions, covenants on the deed. Doesn't matter what that paper says. It's what's a covenant on the deed that's filed in the town clerk's office that
Now,
counts.
the deed is,
Would be the deed to the properties were transferred from the US government to creative housing to the town of East Windsor. Any covenant that was put on it follows through. And the only way to remove it is go back to all the parties and get releases on it. So,
my biggest thing.
whatever your land lease says, the covenant of the deed is above it.
My biggest thing is, I'm not, yeah, sure, I'd love to get a hold of the land. It would make things, it would be, to me, the ideal thing for me in my case. But it's not even so much getting a hold of land. It's this land lease that is so, I mean, anybody who looks at this thing and just sees going in circles, and we've had meetings with, Bob, and there were a few other people that were here, and they looked at it and they said it just made them dizzy trying to figure this thing out. And that's our biggest problem as far as having any kind of sale of the houses in there, is people get, a lawyer that's watching out for them, and they're telling them, run from this as fast as you can get. Just run. Unfortunately, we weren't told that at the beginning, because when we came in, we could save money, we could use Creative Housing's lawyer. What'd that get us? Saved us money, all right. I mean, granted, I've loved living in town. I've been in town for 23 years now, and I've loved it. I really, like where I'm living and everything. Otherwise, I just take my losses and pick up and move. And the only other question I have, I know I've been paying my land lease. I know I've heard down here people haven't been paying. I don't know how many, who's paying, who's not paying. Where's that money going?
Well, the land lease is $56.
Yeah, I've been paying it to the
Yeah.
town since 2015.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, where's it going?
And actually, that changed within the last year. Used to, some of it was split up, and I've forgotten the exact way, but the Housing Authority was getting some of the money for collecting the rents. Now the town's collecting the rents, so the $56 is going to the town. But there's some way it's broken down for use, and I can get that for you.
I was just curious, because I know when the Housing Authority had it, I had spoken to a member of that, and they said it was sitting in a bank the whole time, pretty much.
No, well, some things, we're spending it on what it says it should be spent on, and that's the land. But I'll get the breakdown. I'll get you that information.
Thank you.
Okay. Further public participation. All right, so let's see.
So should have signed the checks all signed, registered signed
No.
down there?
I haven't signed them.
They weren't signed by Bob.
Yeah, oh boy, 6 lashes and...
Okay, so we're gonna, I entertain a motion to go into
Okay,
executive
I'll
session.
make a motion to go into executive pursuant to Connecticut General Statute, Section 1-200, subsection 6A, employment. After a couple minute break.
After a couple minute break. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, this is that information. Good to see you.
That's, I mean.
No, like what? I